The FBI has searched the home of Joe Biden. Now, I call it a raid because when they searched the home of Donald, it surfaced, and it looks like Hunter Biden had access to classified information somehow. Very strange indeed. Well, I don't know exactly what's going on or why. Some people think it's that the deep state's trying to remove Joe Biden because he is going to be running in 2024. So his team says, administration. That's what it's looking like. We got a story about a crying chief of staff saying he's going to be with him when he runs or something like that. So maybe the deep state really does want to get rid of him. It's the only way they can do it. Or I actually think this may be a cover-up. We're learning now that the National Archives were barred from telling the world, telling the American people, that they were searching the home of Biden for these classified documents and in fact found some. Now, who would tell them to do it? It had to be Merrick Garland or Joe Biden. So it looks like the reason they searched his house is because they're working at his behest, trying to cover it up, collect the documents and stop the story from getting out. And that's exactly what they did. And now that the midterms are over, the story has gotten out only because CBS News reported on it. So we'll talk about that. Plus, we'll talk about whether or not he's going to run. We got Donald Trump declaring war on the culture war. Apparently, Trump's going to make his key issues all about culture war stuff, and we've already started to see it. So this should be pretty interesting. And then we got Taiwan on high alert. Power goes out at LAX, LA Airport. Some people are concerned, maybe cyber attack. And then we have this really crazy story. It's kind of E-drama, celebrity gossipy, but it's interesting because it's about AI deepfake porn. And how like some Twitch streamers are crying because they've been deepfaked or whatever. So let's talk about how the future is going to get crazy. Before we get started, my friends, head over to timcast.com, become a member to support our work directly. Click that Join Us button, and you can support not only this show, the videos I make over at youtube.com/Timcast and Timcast News, the website, but you're helping with our cultural endeavors. So we're going to be setting up a physical space where it's the coffee shop. We've already got the building, the contractors coming in. We're going to start doing the construction. Plus we have Freedomistan. It is nearing completion. It's going to be really exciting. We're going to be launching a morning show, a skate show, tons of really awesome stuff. And it's all thanks to you. These things take time. Plus, of course, we have the fact-checking nonprofit, which is currently going through the filing process. And it's really, it's difficult to do these things because we have to file in every single state. It's ridiculous. But we're working on it. We're getting there. And with your support, we're going to get these things done. So thank you so much for being a member. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about all of this and more is Sameera Khan.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
So who are you? What do you do?
I'm an independent journalist as of right now, but I used to work for RT in DC. I was their Washington correspondent for a little bit. And yeah, I've been in the game for a little while and I find it really interesting. Now, I used to be in the progressive left. I was very involved with the Bernie Sanders campaign. And then recently, I think with the country moving, I guess, left, I guess I've taken more of like a centrist position and I've gotten pretty anti-left. So yeah, that's my background. And,
anti-woke journalist, is that it?
Pretty much anti-woke journalist. But I used to focus more so on foreign policy, but I'm also, like Trump, getting more so into the culture war. I find that really interesting. And it's the same thing, right? Culture war, they're also using in foreign policy, so on and so forth. So.
Seems fitting for this show, so thanks for joining us. Should be blessed. We got Hannah Claire Brimlow.
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I need a longer intro.
So yeah, develop something. I'm kind of in your boat, Hannah Claire. I'm Ian Crossland. Got nothing to say too much, Sameera. We talked a little bit about your last name, Khan.
Yeah.
Maybe you come from Genghis.
Yeah, I mean, if he's my ancestor, that would be super based.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Well, good to see you.
People are saying that when I was talking about in the intro, it glitched and deleted the part where I said Donald Trump was running or something like this and going after the culture war. Mm-hmm. Like 4 different super chats just came in and said some weird glitch happened.
Just to clarify, Donald Trump is running for president, is what you said.
Well, that he's declaring war on the culture war.
That's funny. War. I'm declaring war on war.
Or I should
It'll never happen again.
He didn't say that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that he's going to be directly addressing culture war issues because he gets the biggest applause for it when he talks about it.
The culture war is something I feel like I can impact. Like politics and stuff, I feel like an outsider. I can offer advice and things like that from the outside. But the culture where I'm in it, we're in it.
I mean, it's worked well for DeSantis and Youngkin. So it's a smart decision on Trump's part because I feel like one of the criticisms that I've seen from his supporters, from MAGA people, is that he hasn't gone hard enough on the culture war stuff. But now that he's changing, I think that that's probably a good move for him.
Yeah.
It's worked for DeSantis. So
what do you think, Serge?
Yo, I'm at Serge.com. Joe's trying to get over this stupid sinus infection, so my voice sounds super weird. Yeah, but almost there. Done soon.
Well, let's jump into this first story. We got this from the Daily Caller. You may have seen the news earlier today. DOJ searches Biden's Delaware home for a second time. Searches. Just a search.
Not raid?
Not a raid. No, it's only a raid when you're going after your political enemies.
Right.
Because Joe Biden basically is the DOJ, they're just searching his house. So here's what I want to point out. We titled this "His Home's Raided" because that's what they say of Donald Trump. They say his home was raided,
right?
And it's like Donald Trump was cooperating with them, letting them come in, go through everything. They went there twice. They went there the first time, said put a lock on. I said okay. Then they come back, break the lock off, take the documents, said you didn't cooperate. And it's like he was, but the media does that thing, where if Trump does it, it's evil. If Biden does it, it's no big deal. No big deal.
Isn't this Daily Caller and
Yes.
they're still calling it Serge?
And that's my point. When I'm reading the post-millennial and even the post-millennial called Antifa domestic terrorists, protesters, I'm like, come on, guys.
Oh my gosh.
And Libby
Yeah.
was here and I told her, I'm like, Libby, what are you doing? She's like, I know. And then there was even on Timcast.com, an article was put up where it referred to them as protesters. And I'm like, they're not. They're being charged with domestic terrorism. So Joe Biden has the FBI go to his house and say it was a planned search. Why is the FBI searching the home of the sitting president for illegally held classified documents? What is this? The fourth search of his properties?
To be fair, they've had a 100% success rate so far. They raided his first home, definitely found documents. Now they have to check the beach house and see if he left anything there.
They didn't find anything.
Yeah, I know, but it's worked for them in the past. We can't trust that
Right.
he hasn't. I mean, Biden spends an enormous amount of time at these two properties. It's not surprising. I am surprised that they didn't check it sooner, right?
Yeah.
And I would only object to the term search. I think possibly you could say it's a search because I'm sure the Biden administration knew about it beforehand, whereas I don't think the same courtesy was extended to Trump when they
Right.
raided Mar-a-Lago, right?
Yeah.
A
And-
raid
and-
is an act of aggression. The search is like, hey, just so you know, we're coming. Don't forget to move that stuff in your garage.
Yeah, and also before the entire Trump debacle, the FBI had very low trust with the American people, so they're probably trying to make the FBI look more credible again, possibly.
That's
That
a good point.
Could be one of their motives for sure.
What was their reason for going to his house anyway, the Delaware house? Did they have like a reasonable cause or probable cause for something being there? Or was it just
Well,
like...
they're calling it a search and not a raid.
I think it's because he owns two properties in Delaware, one at Rehoboth Beach and one in Wilmington. The Wilmington is where they found the documents before. So now they need to check the other place where he spends a lot of time. One of the weekends where they were searching his house, he just went to his other house in Delaware, right? These are places that he spends an enormous amount of time. So if he is doing something he's not supposed to do with documents, it makes sense that you would check both properties. It would be weird to leave one off the list.
I
So
feel
what
like
about his
every
car?
president would have classified documents in their homes. I mean,
And we talked about this one time, what is a classified document? Is it like a menu from a
Yeah.
dinner? Because at one point those were classified. I don't know. I mean, it is weird that they were in his garage, and whereas Trump had his stored in
Yeah.
an appropriate way. But
I mean,
I think it's cover up.
yeah. I mean, the spin is interesting. I think that says a lot.
and I feel like this headline in particular, if you're not aware that, I keep saying this, but because he has two homes in Delaware, they're like, they checked his Delaware home, there's nothing there. It sort of canceled out the headlines from a couple weeks ago where
Yeah.
it's like, well, we checked his Delaware home and there were documents. You know?
I think here's what I'm thinking. Why are they going after Biden and his documents? But Biden's legal team, I think his legal aides are the ones who actually informed the FBI they had the documents. Whereas with Trump, they raid, it's a legal issue. Imagine this, you're Joe Biden and you want to dig up dirt on a political opponent, your principal political opponent, or your Merrick Garland. Basically, Biden says, oh, won't someone rid me of this Trump? And Merrick Garland goes, I know exactly what you're saying. He then goes and says, let's go raid Trump's house. We're going to use the documents, what was the law, what is it, the National Archives Act or whatever that law is? Record Keeping Act or something. And they're going to use that as the pretext to stop Trump from running in 2024. And then Merrick Garland says, but hold on, if this is going to work, we got to make sure Biden doesn't have the same problem.
Yeah.
He's got to be clean. So then he orders the search of Biden's property, not because he's targeting Biden, because he's helping Biden.
I see.
And
So
trying to make Trump look worse.
And if Biden
Yep.
gets out of office and then they did the raids, it would annihilate the Biden name. It would make him, they'd be like, look, you've got all the same things,
No.
you hypocrite. So they're just getting it out of the way. Is that what you're saying?
When they raided his house the first time, no one knew. This was in November. They covered it up. No one knew it happened. Okay, so I'm thinking, we were talking about this last week. Like, why would they go after Biden? Is the deep state trying to remove him? Like, ending his 2024 chances? Maybe it could be both. It could be this. They know Joe Biden can't run in 2024. He's not going to win.
Yeah.
They also don't want Trump to run, and he will win. What do? Geez. Oh, Biden, you broke the record keeping. You can't run for president now. Oh, man, that means Trump can't run either. Oh. And then if Trump tries to run, they'll be like, hey, look, we even stopped Biden from running because we're being fair.
Interesting.
So he's like their sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's also like a lot of infighting going on with the Democrats regarding Biden, whether he should be the one to run in 2024 or should they replace him. But after the midterms, it seemed like Biden's approval rating went up, so they stopped with the anti-Biden stuff for a while. But I don't know, maybe this will change things.
I mean, he said he would announce after Christmas, right? We're after Christmas.
Yeah.
He has not announced, and I think that can only tell you that he wants to run.
Yeah.
And they don't want him to.
It's going to be a progressive. It might not be a liberal guy.
Who could?
I think that's their biggest issue. They don't have a clear front runner. I know people have said Newsom. I know people say Kamala, but like
Kamala's not likable.
Kamala's not likable. Her approval ratings have always been lower than Biden's, and that's saying something.
Over at Predict It, you can buy. It's the prediction market thing for those that don't know. You buy shares in a concept. So it's like, who will be the Democrats' 2024 nominee, and you can buy one share of Kamala Harris. Yes. For 9 cents. That means if you buy a share for 9 cents and she does become the nominee, you get $1 or like $1.10 or something like that. And that's a 10-to-1 return, right? But come on, no sane person thinks she's going to be the nominee.
Yeah.
I don't know why people are buying shares in Kamala Harris, but here's the best part. You can buy no, she won't be for 91 cents. Now that means for every 91 cents you spend when she invariably is not the nominee, you get 9 cents. That sounds like free money to me. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just saying. It's kind of crazy where there's no way. It's going to be really funny in 2024 or 2023, who knows, when they're like, Kamala Harris is the nominee. And I'm just like, wow, I did not see that coming. I got to tell you, man, if someone asked me to make a large wager, a large sum of money on whether or not Kamala Harris would be the nominee, I'd say no. Just not going to happen.
Do you guys think that in 2036 there will be a United States, or that we will have a president, that we'll be able to have a president? You think that we'll be structurally
It's like
sound enough
13
for
years
I
from
mean,
now?
Yeah, it'd be like 4 elections from coming or something.
It depends if, there's a civil war coming or not.
I wonder, because I'm like, we talk about if we just sit here and wait, is it going to be Kamala? Like, dude, if we just sit here and wait, the world's going to blow itself up. We have to like actively change the system. I can't wait for idiot A or idiot B to become the next leader anymore. I'm concerned that if we just play games and watch it like a TV show, that the inevitable demise of the American way is around the corner.
I hate to make a bet, but I do think that in 13 years, that feels far right now, but it's really not in the span of time. Anyone who's in their 60s will probably tell you that. Like 13 years can go by really quickly. I feel like probably there's a country. I would not be surprised if the party system looks different. And that might be wishful thinking on my part, but I think
It might be a little bit.
yeah, but I think that there's so much, like the criticism Democrats and the left-leaning media always levy at Republicans is that they're infighting and they don't get along. But the same thing is true for the left, right? And I think as the youngest generation ages into being a solid voter bloc, they are the most likely to cross lines on tickets, right? If you ask them how they feel about different issues, it doesn't all fall in one camp. So again, wishful thinking on my part, but I don't think the parties as we know them today necessarily will be the same in 13 years. I do think
It's going to get worse. It's going to get more progressive on the Democrat side.
On the
for
Republican
sure.
side, too.
But they'll leave people
True,
behind.
yeah.
They both will leave people behind. Like, we talk about this with, like, the shrinking middle class. Like, what if politics gives way to a solid middle class, and that means ideologically, not financially, block of voters, right? The people who don't feel like they have a home in the Republican Party or
I don't think the
left.
two-party system is going to change anytime soon. I mean, the Republicans and Democrats, they've collaborated and colluded to make sure that never happens. They've pretty much stopped independent candidates from getting on the debate stage. I mean, the last time was Ross Perot. That's never going to happen again. Unless, the American people wake up. I don't see that happening anytime soon, unless there is some sort of civil war. So,
I think the clearest sign would be if we had more independent governors. I've not thought that for a while because Oregon ran an independent who got a fair amount of votes. She didn't win. They let the Democrat went in. But I do think that, like, yes, you're right. Like, administratively, it seems really hard to imagine a non-two-party system. But I just don't think.
I mean, it's not in our Constitution or anything. It's possible.
It's just the way things have worked out, right? But I just think that young voters are more likely to leave the idea of, like, you have to be one or the other behind. It's hard, though, because there are states where you have to register with a party to vote in that primary, right? And that will be a difficult system to change.
Well, according to polling, I think 48 to 50% of Americans are independent, but then those independents end up voting either Republican or Democrat when push comes to shove.
Because you
So
have
it's
to
unfortunate.
participate in the primaries, you have to be in the party.
Yeah, in the general I'm talking about.
But
yeah.
as that gets left behind, like if we were to reverse states, like there are so many states that you have to do that, and there are other states that don't want that. If we didn't have to identify in the primaries, I think you would see a shift on the national platform. Again, wishful thinking on my part, but
Or maybe it has to be a top-down approach.
Maybe
it needs to start on the national level. It needs to start in the presidential election for it to trickle down.
yeah,
We'll see.
it'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
Let me pull up this story right here from the Daily Mail. And this is why I think that the Joe Biden FBI raid is actually a cover-up. Daily Mail reports, what else are they hiding? White House claims of transparency face even more scrutiny as it's revealed National Archives was blocked from releasing statement on classified documents found at Biden's think tank. The revelation came during questioning of Archives General Counsel Gary Stern by top Republican James Comer. It raises questions over who stopped the release from going public. That is to say, just before the midterms, when they raided Biden's home and they knew he had these documents, the National Archives were barred by someone. It'd have to be either Biden or Merrick Garland. They said, do not make a statement. You are barred from doing so. That means when the midterms came, nobody had the opportunity to learn this. CBS News eventually reports it, and that's how we find out. And now we're actually getting some information as to what's going on. Now there's more raids, there's more searches.
When it can't affect the Democrats.
Exactly. And this says to me, if it's Garland or if it's Biden, they're covering it up.
Well, someone asked the National Archives to cover it up. For sure, 100%.
Right.
If the
Absolutely.
Archives were asked not to report, they were asked to cover it up.
And that means it was Biden or Garland. So maybe the deep state is going after Biden, and he said, no, don't let anyone find out they're coming after me. I don't believe it, because they're all deep state, they're all establishment. What likely happened is they said, we're going to use this against Trump, the documents, but we got to make sure you're clean before we make that move. So we're going to have the FBI come in and search, see if they can find anything, and then we'll move forward with Trump.
But then they inadvertently found stuff. How the story went.
Yeah. When did they raid Trump's house? When was
In the
that?
fall, was it November?
Months ago, yeah.
Was it November?
Looking it up now.
This is an important
look it up.
question. Was it before or after?
August 8th?
August 8th is when they
Oh.
raided Trump's house.
Over the summer.
Yeah, so I kind of think they were like, hey, look, this is a big story, and they're trying to say maybe they do want Biden to run, and they were like, if they go hard on this, Trump can't run for president because of these documents. We got to make sure Biden doesn't have the same problem. Lo and behold, he does.
Interesting.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's a malicious cover-up, a beneficial cover-up? You think?
Going back to the deep state thing, what other motives would the deep state have in getting rid of Biden, aside from, he's not good for the Democrats? I can't think of any other motives, because he's doing exactly what they want them.
And they don't need to
do.
get rid of him. They just need to be like,
Right.
okay, Joe, we're going to get somebody else. And I'll go, oh, okay.
Yeah, I just don't buy the whole, the deep state is going after him.
I think it's his health, right? Like, if they could have run him again, they
Yeah.
would have. But, again, this sounds terrible, but, he doesn't seem healthy. This is a continued issue. The other day, he just announced he's extending COVID orders, and his office said May 11th. Everyone knew it. And then he told reporters May 15th.
Okay.
He can't keep basic important dates in mind, right?
Yeah.
He's a busy guy. I guess he's got a lot going on. But, I think it's that, personally, I think it's that he is not healthy enough to run again, and therefore they have to replace him. He doesn't want
But wouldn't that happen internally within the Democratic Party? Would they need this,
not if he's going to say,
drama?
I'm running. You cannot make me go on that platform and say I'm not running.
well, we'll see.
If
We'll
he
see.
digs his heels in,
Yeah.
what are they going to say?
I think this has more to do with making Trump look bad, to be honest.
Making Trump look bad?
Making him look better in comparison to Trump. with
Oh,
this
he
whole-
got
yeah.
raided too, but his wasn't that bad.
Exactly. His wasn't that bad. Precisely. I think that it has.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's also confusing because,
We don't have the details.
maybe they just screwed up. They were trying to cover this up. They told the National Archives not to say anything, but then CBS News got the story out. Now they're scrambling.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe Joe Biden can't run. There was that former Clinton aide said this is it for him. It's going to be the end. And I'm sorry. I just don't feel that way. I feel like Joe Biden could walk out on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody in the face. They'd still vote for him. Not kidding. Not kidding. Trump was right when he was talking about that.
Yeah, for real.
The current state of American politics is if you're in the cult, you're in the cult.
Yeah.
There's a really great tweet I saw, and it said, if you are on the left, you are allowed to deviate from leftist economic policy without reprisal. But you cannot deviate on gender ideology, race ideology, and that explains exactly what the left is. And it's like, that's an interesting point. If you're woke, but you say something like, I don't know if universal health care could work, nobody cares.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, that's interesting.
Right.
But if you are pro-universal health care and you say, hey, that woke stuff's nonsense, they call you right-wing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it happens with minorities too. You saw when all of the Muslims in Dearborn protested against the sexualization of children, they called them terrorists. You know, these are the same Muslims that the left pretended to defend during the war on terror, etc. Now they're calling them literal terrorists because, you know, they're against woke. So
I heard a story where it was like, apparently some woman was at a diversity training and they said, you know, say your name and pronouns. She said, oh, no, thank you, I'm not religious. And then people started chuckling and then everyone refused to give pronouns. And I'm like, yeah, maybe that happened. It does kind of sound like a, and then everyone clapped kind of story, you know?
Oh my God.
Because I don't see people as willing to stand up. Like I said, Joe Biden could walk on a Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and they'd still vote for him.
Yeah.
So I'm not convinced that the average person who's aware of what's going on with the corruption, the communism, whatever you want to call it, is willing to actually stand up and say anything. Because the story that breaks my heart, we heard the other day from Matt Strickland, is that he defies these lockdown orders. He wins in court. He wins the political battle. He was right the whole time. And he said, people call him and say, what you did was great. How can I help you? And he says, do what I did. And they go, oh, no, I couldn't do that. You know, they'll come after me. And that's how it feels. Too many people are just like, no, don't look at me. I'm going to stay right here where it's easy.
Yeah, they think it'll pass eventually, but it's only going to get worse. We've seen this throughout history. I mean, the gender pronoun thing. I've made jokes saying, like on Twitter, saying, yeah, there's going to be Republicans with pronouns in their bios in 10 years. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, of course. The joke I made is that the Democratic Party is going to be hive mind singularity pod people versus transgender communists. And that'll be the Republican Party, and the Democrats will be the hive mind AI people.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, hive mind rights. And they'll start arguing that once you join the collective, you have a right. Like if a non-citizen becomes part of the collective, they retain their voting power because the collective is one unit or something like that. And then they're going to be like, we need a new system of voting because ranked choice voting doesn't work anymore. They're going to be on like double bypass ranked choice inversion voting where, who you vote for the third time gets counted against you and some weird, anybody can vote. And then they're going to be like, well, he's in the hive now, so we are one, and that means, he can vote, and there's one vote, and we vote for Joe Biden again. And that's
you vote with your feelings in those situations because whoever has the most feeling is the one that would decide what the hive does.
Yeah. So in order to vote in the future, you walk into a room, close your eyes, and think real hard, and then we record it. Trust us. We're getting the count right.
Yeah.
We know. Yeah, we got your vote. Yeah, and then they leave, and it's like, ooh, I wonder, who's going to win? And they're like 99.9% Joe Biden.
I don't think that the gender stuff is just going to get worse. You said earlier, like Chloe Cole gives me a lot of inspiration. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her story. She's like, she might be 19 at this point, but she had underwent surgery, like transgender surgery, and had her double mastectomy, her breasts removed when she was like 13 or 14. I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but it's right around that age.
I think it's 15.
15?
15.
And then realized what the pharmaceutical companies were doing to her or enabling her to do to herself for profit and came out and started speaking out against it. And she's immensely popular right now with all sorts of people from all ages. So I think we went through a horrible period in the last 6 years of pharmaceutical overreach, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And digging into these kids for money.
But if you look at Europe and you see how overly woke they are, you can tell that the trajectory of the U.S. is going to follow that of Europe, right? They've all had these debates, the bathroom debates and everything, and that their solution, for example, for the bathroom thing is that, we're going to have unisex bathrooms. So, I mean, that's just one example, but if you want to see the future of the U.S. in terms of wokeism and leftist ideology, you look to Scandinavia and Western Europe. So,
In California.
Yeah, true.
Apparently, California is always 5 years ahead of the rest of the United States.
Yeah.
I covered this story a few years ago. It was talking about something related to their weird policies, and it said, historically, the policies they implement there make their way to the rest of the country within 5 years. So if you want to figure out where things are going to be in 5 years, look at California. And if you do, well, then any sane person's going to get out of the city, go to the middle of nowhere, and get some chickens. Because otherwise, you're going to be walking around New York, you're going to be walking around DC, and there's going to be human feces all over the streets. And there probably already are. It's just that in San Francisco, it's way, way worse. In Sacramento, it's worse. But that's coming to a neighborhood near you.
Well, and I would assume all the migration that happened during the COVID lockdowns is going to influence that, right? Have you ever seen these maps of like how people migrated, and a lot of them left California and went to states you wouldn't have predicted? Like, we always talk about this, but
Texas,
they bring their ideology and their policies with them, right? They're frustrated by what's happening in their state, but not by everything. They like dislike one policy, but they're going to keep most of the others.
Yep.
Naturally, the country is just going to move more left in terms of sociocultural.
I'm not so convinced.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. So we started seeing this shift with Gen Z because leftists don't have kids; they have yours.
Okay.
But that only goes so far when you start getting a pushback in the culture war. And I think mathematically, it doesn't matter whether or not they indoctrinate kids. I don't. I think that all that matters is the birth rate. If conservatives have even one kid per family, and Democrats have none kids per family, then the future, even though will be a population reduction, will be way more conservative. And then people argue, yeah, but the woke are trying to indoctrinate those kids. Yes, but they don't exist in large enough numbers. So if there's 2 leftist teachers trying to indoctrinate your child, then as they get older, they're dying off. Maybe they convert 10%. Maybe, let's say they convert 40% of all conservative children into woke. That still means they are not replacing their own ideological selves.
Right.
And so over a long enough period, what's the conversion rate you think for a conservative kid into a woke kid? I don't think it's
3%.
It's probably very low.
Yeah.
You grow up in you grow up in a religious conservative family. You probably become slightly libertarian as you get older, but you're still going to be somewhat conservative.
And people go through phases too. I went through like a real postmodernist, you can be whatever you believe you are phase in my 20s, and then I realized the reality starts to set in. And I realized, people will starve if we don't get resources from point A to point B. You know, the whole what I believe is not good enough. You know, reality, it will slap you in the face metaphorically if you just play the I am what I think I am game.
Yeah, I think you were making a point about generations, right? So if Generation Z, if you're seeing like a conservative turn, usually the next generation will be more woke, right? So if you see backlash in a certain generation.
No.
You don't think so?
Pew Research shows that every generation starts skewing further and further left, but Gen Z was the first time in 100 years it actually ticked back towards conservative.
Because something else I read, baby boomers, they were for that time period, they were woke. You know, they were against the Vietnam War and etc. But then Generation X, that was the backlash generation. But
well, they're all more progressive. On everything. Like boomers were resistant to gay marriage. Gen Xers were more accepting of it. Millennials were completely accepting of it, and then, resulting in a favorable cultural environment to legalize, or I should say to codify, not even codify, to rule in the Supreme Court that it just is.
Yeah, and I think it went from 20% in the 90s to like 80% now. I mean, support for
it's considered marriage. One of the fastest shifting cultural issues of all time.
Crazy. I wonder how Alpha is going to turn out. I mean, if Zoomers are this way, then...
It's not about how they turn out. It's about who has the kids.
Oh, yeah.
And conservatives have more kids than liberals, and liberals are now more likely to sterilize and more likely to abort their children. So it's only a matter of time. People talk about all the politics and they're like, yeah, but they're in schools and they're indoctrinating. And I'm just like, doesn't matter. Math, you're not going to change it. Like, over a long enough period of time, it's like saying, you go to a casino, because I was making I said if I was going to make a bet on, Kamala Harris, people were like, Tim's got a gambling problem, because I always do the gambling analogy. But if you go to a casino, the house has an edge. Like, how is it that you can play all these games? The house always wins because in blackjack, they have a 0.5% higher chance of winning. That means you can win $1 million. It doesn't matter. Over the year, they win 0.5% of all of those bets statistically, and that's all that matters. And that's what I'm talking about with wokeness. They can do whatever they want. They can indoctrinate this kid and this kid. They can get Greta Thunberg up on the big TV. But over a long enough period of time, their attrition rate is just too high. If they want to abort their kids and look, aborting their kids was one thing, right? The leftists, liberals are substantially more likely to get abortions than Christians, conservatives, etc. And that right there is a hard mathematical fact, which is why many people were saying for a while that the future is Muslim, because Muslims have even more kids than Christians, and that's the number. That's all that matters. However, Now liberals are sterilizing their kids. So that means it's almost like a retroactive removal from future gene pools. Basically, if you go back to the 1990s and check abortion rates, you're going to be like, we can do the math. Liberals were aborting at this rate, conservatives at this rate. You're going to see more conservatives. Guess what? We are. Conservatives are having more kids. Liberals are having less kids. Why? Because liberals are aborting their babies. So in the early 2000s, conservatives were having, I think it's like 2.05 kids on average, and liberals were having like 1.73. Now what do we see? Gen Z, slightly more conservative in some areas, but fairly comparable to millennials. Now, here's what they didn't track for. When they were talking about abortion, or they weren't talking about abortion, they said, do liberals have kids? Do conservatives have kids? And the answer was conservatives have more. Why? They were probably banging at the same rate or similar rates, but liberals were having abortions, reducing that number. Now add to the fact that those kids from the 2000s who are 23 today have a higher likelihood of being sterilized, being chemically castrated or transitioning, or just outright not wanting to have kids as per leftist ideology. So you add that, and now those people will not have children. So the birth rate on the left is going to go down further. Personally, I'm not a fan of any of that stuff. I think people should have families and they'll enjoy it. But if the left doesn't want to have kids, that's the future that they've built.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah,
Ran over.
makes sense. Makes sense. I didn't know any of that, actually.
It assumes, a stable system, peaceful system.
It doesn't.
Well, because slavery is real too. Like human slavery. If a liberal society were to go full militant and just start killing and enslaving children, then they would be like, then that would have won.
You tell me. You're telling me that you think that if the circumstances in the United States become substantially more arduous, then liberals will do better?
No, I think the ideology is destined for failure. That personal ideology of cutting up kids and making them take their penis off when they're 12, like that's not going to work.
And I'm not saying that's like in massive numbers in the millions. It's in the thousands, maybe even tens of thousands, and it may be reversing because of what we're seeing with people like Chloe Cole. But what I'm saying is, if you make an easy, comfortable system, you will start seeing more liberals and leftists, but they want gluttony more than conservatives want gluttony, and many conservatives do, so they abort and sterilize their kids. But then you give them hardship, and conservatives are substantially more likely to survive that hardship because of meritocracy, personal responsibility, and things like that. So if it does become a dictatorship, all that means is more liberals will struggle to succeed.
Maybe. I was just
conservatives
thinking
will succeed.
I was thinking of the Soviet Union because that was a real liberal uprising. They were all like wacky, radical leftists, and they just killed everyone else and took control physically. So enforced the ideology, if not for other countries around Earth.
And what won out in the end was, I wouldn't call it. Yeah, it was oligarchy.
Yeah, but
Mob rule
then
and
that
control.
period of the 90s where, oligarchs ruled everything, they liked Western liberalism, but now there's backlash, right? And now they want to revive the Soviet Union in Russia. I mean, Stalin is the most popular figure in Russia, and they, literally want to go back to the Soviet Union.
Really?
Yeah.
How is that happening? Who wants that, and what do they want exactly?
Well, I mean, if you look at polling data, Western polling data, Stalin is the number one, most popular figure. And if you talk to Russians these days, they want to go back to the days of the Soviet Union because that period of the 90s was just so horrible for the Russian people. And then Putin changed everything when he came in 2000. Russia was declining, economy was really bad, and then slowly he reindustrialized and then changed the economy for the better. And now Putin has been very good for the Russian people.
Well,
I mean,
and maybe you can speak to this, but don't most Russian people not want what modern Western values are, right?
Yeah, no, they don't.
So
I mean, they admire the West because of Hollywood and everything
of Westerns.
Yeah,
maybe?
because of the cultural power that the West has, but they are completely against Western liberal values. In fact, there was a bill that was just passed where they expanded the anti-LGBT law that they had. And this was, across the board, every party agreed with it. They were like, no, we're not going to have this LGBT gender ideology propaganda in Russia. That's for the West. Mm-hmm. So it's hardening them even more. So
I saw an interview with Putin, a bunch of college kids, and they were like, you could see they wanted him to be like, yes, we are now a liberal democracy, but he wasn't. He was staying hard. And then they were like, Senor, or whatever they called him, Putin, what should I do as a man in Russia? And Putin was like, you should learn to cook. And he was like, ha ha ha, everyone laughs. He's like, no, as a real man, a Russian man, there's like this misogynist energy behind it all. And that stood out to me, that there's this intense like misogyny in the Russian, in that guy. And Putin still was like, no, you should learn to cook. Because the economy is about to go to crap. He didn't say that part, but that's what he was saying. It's like,
it's a very macho culture. I mean, I've been to Moscow, and then you see it in the UFC as well. Look at how all of the Russian fighters and everything, they're doing really, really well. They're dominating the MMA world. And that's part of their culture. Men should be men and women should be women. Women embrace their femininity. They don't reject it, and they don't try to be more masculine. Like, it is here.
When you were saying that people want to bring back the Soviet Union, do they know what they want, or is it just that they want something better than what they have and they're looking at?
Well, it's actually older Russians that experienced the Soviet Union that want it back the most. So it's interesting because it's the opposite, right? Because in the U.S. you have young millennials that are more socialist, and then the older people here, they're like anti-socialist, anti-communist. But in Russia, younger people, they're more into liberal values. But then the older people who experience communism, they want the Soviet Union back. So it's like the complete opposite.
Is this derived through polls and things, or
polls? Yeah, mostly through polls. And then I don't necessarily go with like lived experiences, but that was my experience in Russia as well.
How long did you live in
I was
Russia?
there for a month. I was there for work, but it was a enlightening experience because it killed whatever progressivism and leftism I had in me, because it was a totally different culture. I'd never really gone elsewhere aside from like Western Europe. So. It's a very anti-progressive, anti-woke culture. I mean, it's pretty much built in. It's very interesting going to Russia.
You said it killed the wokeism out of you, or like
whatever progressivism I had inside of me, from like the Bernie days, it was just completely gone. I became more politically incorrect,
But see, the thing with Bernie, he wasn't
woke.
Yeah, it wasn't the same thing. He did that interview, that famous interview where he was like, you got to secure the borders. You got to secure the borders.
Yeah.
And then the World Socialist website call him a nationalist capitalist.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to shut the borders down, and these people are global socialists.
Yeah. And then he changed his whole shtick, right, in 2020, and that's why I think he lost the primary, because he went full on the id poll and the gender ideology and all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, that's why he destroyed himself. But
started sounding like a weirdo.
Yeah.
And regular people were like, I don't know what that's all about. This guy's crazy.
It went from unite the working class to identity politics in 2020.
That's how they do it.
Yeah.
That's how they do it with Occupy Wall Street. They do it with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't mention it, but it would be remiss not to point out that universities are also not quite as popular as they were. Like, you hear this all the time.
Yeah.
People say you send your kid to university and they move more left, even if they were raised in a conservative family. But studies are showing, especially with COVID, we saw so many people opt not to return to college and feel like it wasn't worth it. People are aware of how much of a financial burden it is to take
even
on
Elon
student
Musk
debt.
is saying college is useless. And, if you
Well,
want to work at Tesla, you don't need to have a bachelor's degree.
Right, and this is more and more the thought.
Yeah.
Also, like, if I'm going to take on however much amount of debt to not make that much money versus someone who goes into a trade or any other thing who gets a head start, who is making more money than you are even after your 4-year degree, it doesn't make any sense. The National Clearinghouse put out this study released from enrollment from last year, and they found that the enrollment was down across the board, master's degrees, any program, definitely down among undergraduates, but it's significantly down among women for the first time in a really long time, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
We've known for a while that men are declining. Fewer men are enrolling in college than women. But now, just in the last year, I can't say it's a full-on trend, but you saw twice as many women didn't return to college, didn't enroll for the first time, I think, ever.
I wonder what it is, with like Elon Musk and many others. I think Peter Thiel talking about how college is useless. We often said, or the belief was, the reason men weren't going to college was because they were lazy or they were living in their parents' basements and things like that. I'm wondering if dudes just figured it out.
Yeah, I think they did.
And women are continually under this social pressure where they're like, you've got to go to school and get a degree so you can be a CEO because of patriarchy.
And you have to prove yourself. You have to prove that you are just as good as all the men in your class by getting the degree. Whereas men don't necessarily feel that same kind of pressure, and they are capable of doing all kinds of things. Not that women aren't, but they're, like, I'll just pursue this thing over here. I also think traditional learning environments aren't suited for most men, right? Like, it's not typical. I mean, we didn't do this for a long time to have you
Also,
sit at a desk.
employers are also saying that college graduates are not prepared adequately for, working and everything.
Yeah.
It's useless.
It's just a holding pattern. I
Yeah.
mean, at one point, academics, like universities and schools, they really were sort of interesting places.
They
where
prepared
advance.
you to work,
right?
you
But
know?
I don't think that's true anymore. I mean, I went to a 4-year university and I was grateful for the experience. But I knew so many people who enrolled in master's programs because they didn't want to be adults yet.
Yeah, and they also say that college graduates lack critical thinking skills because they're taught to memorize. I mean, that's the American education system, especially in college. You're not rewarded for thinking critically and analytically.
I want to talk to you guys about that TV show, The Last of Us. Have you guys seen it?
No, never heard
Have
of
you guys
it.
ever played the video game?
Negative.
So it's a video game that came out. I think it's like 10 years old. The show is huge right now. It's on episode 3. They've already renewed it for second season. It's got Pedro Pascal in it. I think his name is, and it's really good. 3 episodes in.
What's it about?
Cordyceps, the fungus that takes over insects' bodies and turns them into zombies, mutates to infect humans. Society collapses. Fungus
It's this thing that looks like a mushroom or whatever.
make people look like mushrooms. They have fungus in their
Yeah.
head.
Cordyceps, a type of mushroom.
the
According to
cordyceps.
Paul Stamets, the world-leading mycologist, cordyceps do not eat humans.
Right.
I believe.
Well,
glad we got a statement.
that's the point of the show. The show is that it mutates and does. And then basically the world collapses. But the reason I want to talk to you about this third episode, it's particularly culturally relevant as it pertains to medical assistance in death, in dying, or whatever they call it. And the show is about a post-apocalyptic gay relationship. And so the reason I brought it up is we were just talking about the differences between men and women in college, and it got me thinking about this. So I said, like, there's an interesting dynamic that I was talking about earlier, where you've got all these people saying this is one of the best TV shows ever made because it depicts a prepper. The world ends. 3 years later, he's all alone for 3 years. He meets a guy and then becomes gay, I guess, because he wasn't before. And then it depicts, spoiler alerts, I'll try to avoid most heavy spoilers if you haven't seen the show, but it depicts this like story of them living together in the apocalypse. And then in the end, the controversy being generated around it is that his one guy's like sick and they're old and there's no doctors. So he's like, I want you to poison me and I'll die. And then the other guy is like, I won't do it. That's wrong. And he's like, it's my life. It's my choice. And this is how I'm going to go out. And then he's like, okay, fine. And then I already warned you guys, major spoiler alert. Like it's in all over the news. And I'm going to spoil it because, and I've already spoiled part of it, but it's because like the medical assistance and dying thing going on in Canada. The dude then basically crushes up a bunch of pills, puts it in a bottle of wine, and then tricks the guy and poisons himself along with the guy. And then he says it's the most objectively, it's the most romantic thing ever done. And so you have these two guys committing suicide together.
And they're glorifying it?
Glorifying it. And then people are coming out now saying it's like the greatest episode of TV ever made and stuff like that. And I'm like, I got to be honest, it was good.
It's a modern take on Romeo and Juliet.
Well, the one thing I wanted to bring up is the gay relationship elicits no emotion in me at all. It just really doesn't. And then I'm not trying to be a dick to gay people. Like, by all means, if you like dudes, do your thing. I got no beef. But what I'm hearing in the media is that it's like it's so romantic.
Yeah.
These two guys are like they love each other so much that the guy decided if you die, I'm going to die with you, and they both poison themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm just like
the glorification of suicide. That's scary.
and then calling it romantic. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I wouldn't find it romantic. It's tragic in Romeo and Juliet. It's tragedy. It's not romance. But what we're seeing now is culturally, medical assistance in dying is they're pushing it. It's more favorable. In Europe, they're doing it.
Yeah.
In Canada, they're doing it. We had those stories where like the veteran calls and he's like, I need help. And they're like, have you considered dying? And now we get a TV show that it's not like it's a young girl, like a 20-year-old being like, I've decided to die and then dying, or like a suicide, because that's depicted in shows all the time. It's like two guys who are alive and one guy saying, you know what, today's my last day because I've chosen it. And then he's like, let's go for it. And then they call it romantic and it's all heartwarming. I don't know, man. I just feel like whether it's intentional or not, this is what we're going to start seeing in the future.
Yeah.
We're already seeing it in Canada. We're already seeing it in Europe. How long until you think it comes to the United States?
10 years.
Suicide booths, like in Futurama.
I mean, it's assisted suicide is legal in Washington and Oregon already. It's already
Well, there you
here.
go. There it is.
It's not a question. I mean, there's this documentary called How to Die in Oregon, and I've probably referenced it a million times, but this is one of the things that happens. A man is on, state health care, and he has a tumor, and the state won't pay for his treatment. It's too expensive. It's beyond what he's permitted. But they will pay for his assisted suicide.
That's what they're doing in Canada.
Yeah, but this movie came out easily 10 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, this is something that we already had, and we're just seeing the effects play out all the time. I think what's weird about this show, having never seen it, is like it goes against what we might say is like the glorification of like the West, right? So like I've been watching the show Yellowstone and like all the other ones, and like there is a fight to survive, right? Like if you're in a post-apocalyptic world, I don't really know, maybe you don't feel like there's anything worth left living for, but like at our core, I think people want stories where it's like, but I pushed through anyways because it was worth it, because ultimately we are like glorious in our victory.
So this was a component of the episode, like basically, and again, spoiler alerts. In the end, the main character goes to the house because they were friends, and then he's like, where is he? And there's a note, and the guy writes this letter saying, I used to hate everybody and I hated everything, but then I learned that there actually was one person worth saving, and that's what I did. I saved him. I give to you all my equipment, use it to save those you love, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yo, this show, I'm wondering if it's like, they're trying, it's wokeness.
Yeah.
That they're two bearded, burly looking dudes in a relationship. And I felt like it just doesn't resonate. I do not feel this man's love. I felt nothing from it. In the previous episode, Joel's significant other, Tess, sacrifices herself. She gets bit to save them and blows herself up. That I felt. And then what I did feel in the end of the episode is when he writes, the guy's like, use my equipment to save Tess or to protect her, but she's already dead. And so that was like brutal. Like all of a sudden you're in this post-apocalyptic world. You have nothing, no gas, no cars. He's like, they're showing like a plane crash, and it's like, we used to be able to fly, we can't anymore. And then this guy who's a prepper has all of this amazing stuff, and he's like, it's yours now. Use it to protect Tess, and she's already dead.
Yeah.
That was brutal. I feel like this wokeness, I don't know, what is this? Is this like Democrat predominantly females going, oh, they love each other, and then it's like moderate dudes just being like, yeah, sure, I guess, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I didn't see it, but I think when two actors are doing a love scene, if they actually love each other as people, it reads in the movie like in The Notebook. Ryan Gosling and the girl, I can't remember that girl's name, but it was like it's a gut-wrenching movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it before. I cried when I saw the movie, but they actually fell in love while they were shooting that. If these dudes in The Last of Us don't actually have emotions for each other, but they're just playing the character of a gay lover, it's going to be, you're going to hear about it, the lizard brain's going to be like, like the seal in you is going to clap, but it's not real. It's the idea of it that they love. But if there's no love there, then there's no love there.
I mean, I just felt like I was watching this show, and you're supposed to be sad that these two people are in love with each other and they're dying, and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't feel it. It doesn't. If it was a woman, I would have understood it.
Yeah. Or what if they were like father and son?
Yes. I was talking about this earlier. If it was like a guy and his kid gets bit and he has to kill him, you'd be like, oh man, like so brutal. Or it's the dad who like throws the cat out of the way and gets bit. That was literally the second episode. Tess, who is the woman significant other for Joel, they're fighting these things, and then she's like, let's go, and then they go to this place, and the zombies find out or something, and then the kid's like, she's infected, and then he's like, show me, and he sees the bite, and he's like, no, and then she's like, get out of here, and she sacrifices herself, and it's brutal to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, if this episode was like a guy, and he meets some like teenage kid, and then over the next 5-6 years, he's teaching the kid how to shoot, and he's teaching the kid how to prep and survive, and then it ended with him like throwing the cat out of the way and then getting bit on the arm, and the kid has to shoot him and he's crying, would have been the most brutal episode ever. But two adult, burly, bearded men. I am not trying to be a dick. I don't care if that's your thing. That's your thing. I don't feel like that resonates. I don't know.
Did you see Brokeback Mountain?
I did not.
I didn't either. Did you guys see that? Was it good? I heard it was phenomenal.
I mean, the one from 2005?
Yeah, with Jake Gyllenhaal and
I mean,
Heath
I didn't
Ledger.
think it was that great. I thought it was just a cultural message. Right?
I think a guess that I had is that they actually started to have emotional feelings. I'd like to ask Jake if that happened. But he killed himself not that long after. Like, I think he was like doing a lot of drugs, really was like, am I gay? What's wrong with me? And then it gets. I know an actor in college that did a play of where he was gay, and the other actor was gay and was just loving making out with him on stage. And then my buddy hung himself.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Many 20 years later, but he hung himself. And it's like that. He told me at one point that play still sticks with me in the back of my mind, like as a form of almost like he felt like prostituted into it for the role because it was a great role.
Wow.
Anyway, it's a little off base, yeah, but it's not fake. Like when you're doing these scenes, you actually do begin to feel these things, and if these actors were on guard from that, it won't play. You'll know that in the scene, you won't feel it because they're guarded from it. It's the danger of being an actor. One of the dangers of being an actor. God, love Heath Ledger, what that guy went through.
I don't know, man. The thing about the medically assisted suicide, to go back to that point,
Yeah.
is that if we're talking about somebody who's bedridden and has no way to pay their bills, and the doctor's like, you've got 3 weeks left, and they're just like, well, I'm in agony and pain, and the morphine's not cutting it anymore. What do you guys think?
So my question is, do you think that depression eventually will be used as like a acceptable, I guess, justification for doing this, for going through this process?
I think that just happened. If I should pull the story really quickly, but there was a girl in
So if you can
the
prove
Netherlands.
you're depressed, then you can kill yourself?
It's in Europe,
Legally?
and I'll look it up in a second. But
Wow. I
think
there
it
was a girl who
Belgium or
survived
Netherlands.
Belgium. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Belgium.
She was going on a class trip. She was in an airport, and the airport was in bombing. And she apparently developed really serious post-traumatic stress syndrome and had all kinds of issues, hospitalized a lot, attempted suicide, and eventually was granted permission to go through assisted suicide
goodness.
because she said her depression was so crippling she could never get over it. And this girl was like, 18, 19? I mean, she was young.
She was young,
So
teens for sure.
what's the limit? Are they going to go?
I'm not
for-
saying I agree with that. I just
No,
mean,
I'm
like,
just
it is
saying
happening.
in general. Like, what's the limit? ADHD, is that going to be accepted? I mean,
It's like a weird form of eugenics, I feel like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
just eliminate them after
essentially,
you can't
right.
hack it, I guess.
acne. I mean, I don't know. Like,
I kind of am. I don't really care about the assisted suicide stuff. I don't know. Am I crazy? I never have. I'm like,
Here's-
if you want to kill yourself, kill yourself. Who cares? Like,
Because
there's so many humans.
Because everybody always regrets it. They don't actually want to do it. That's what we were talking about the other day. Everybody who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and survived said the first thing that happened was they regretted doing it.
Yeah.
So you have these people who are feeling fear or panic. They're scared. They're in pain, and they think it's the only way to make it stop, and they regret it. And so the goal is to help them not do that because it's the wrong thing.
Like I knew a
Yeah.
guy, like the guy I was just telling you guys about, he wanted to die, so he killed himself. No one could stop him. But then in another instance, I know a girl that tried to kill herself a couple times, and then she didn't, and now she's got a family. So
and
she's
I
happy.
assure you, your friend was, if he was alive today, he'd be like, I'm sure glad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I think so. He was like, something
everybody.
horrible's coming, man. He was like, really, it was like 27, no, it was 2019 when he killed himself. It was like 2015. He told me like something bad's happening. He left New York City. He's like, something bad's coming, dude. He was like the best actor I knew too. It was,
But do you feel like because he felt like something bad was happening, he should have been able to kill himself, right? Like if you were in a position to have influence over it, which of course you weren't, it's a horrible thing to ask, but like with assisted suicide, or what they often refer to as euthanasia, right? Like euthanasia, you feel like you're putting someone out of their misery. And that's why it starts with these conversations about people who are in very serious organ failure, they have very serious cancers, they will not survive. And so is it a higher quality of life to let them choose when to end?
The problem is, if you open the door to medically assisted suicide, it will expand.
exactly.
Right, exactly.
I'm concerned that some
Exactly.
people, if they want to die and you don't let them, that they will lash out and start ruining other people's lives and making the world a worse place.
But that's on the individual level. I think that the collective consequences of starting this whole like medically assisted suicide trend is much worse and than the individual consequences of one person lashing out in their own community versus starting this global trend.
Right.
It
It also reduces the friction in doing so. It's very difficult to do it. It's not as easy as everyone thinks it is to just go ahead and do it. That's why people get drunk. People do a bunch of drugs before they do it. They don't just if you make it a nice hospital setting with doctors like helping you do it,
And your
makes it-
family surrounding you, holding
Right.
your hand, saying, it's a good thing. That's
right,
creepy
exactly,
AF.
exactly. It makes it way easier.
Yeah.
Or romantic, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
It sure does seem like they don't want a lot of people.
I'm thinking of cellular apoptosis.
Yeah.
When you got cells in your body, they pre-program themselves to die. Like some cells, when they're no longer needed or they're causing damage to the system because they're taking too many resources, they will kill themselves on purpose to make the body healthier. And I think humans are fractally doing that similar thing.
I mean, there are cultures, right, where that's the expectation for people who are too old or too sick. They're supposed to like
Right.
remove themselves from the society. But
Inuit,
like,
et cetera.
I don't know that that is something that I would personally be okay with. It would be really difficult for me to accept that. You know?
People are pointing out that in the beginning of the show, people commented that a portion got dropped or deleted. Like I was talking about Biden getting raided, and it was gone. And we've had so many of these kind of things happen that I don't believe they can be coincidences, because it happens a lot. So someone just super chatted that they just started watching, and in the beginning, the intro was cut. Like, you can't actually hear me talk about what happened with Biden. But we talk about him again and again and again throughout this show. I want to tell everybody what happened with Turning Point USA, because I'm not sure we ever actually talked about it. But when we went live with Turning Point USA, you may have noticed we were late. We weren't late, actually. We were on time. The stream started right on time. And then what happened, Serge? Remember? You guys were like, it says we're live, but we're not coming up. Nothing's happening.
Right. Yeah. It was
That's
live to us, and it's live on my feeds.
But nobody could see it. And They
Right.
were like, where's the show? The show's delayed.
Right.
And then I got messages, and they were like, people were telling me after the show, they were like, hey, the show didn't go up for like 10 minutes. But we were live streaming on our end. Everything was going through.
Right.
And I'm wondering if, we had Charlie Kirk, we had Bannon, we had James Lindsay, we had Luke Rudkowski, you and me. I'm wondering if the people at YouTube were like, boss, what do we do? Tim Pool, Bannon, Kirk, Luke Rudkowski, Ian, James Lindsay are on stage in a massive stadium with thousands of seats,
Right.
and they're going to talk at this massive convention. What do we do with this?
And then they were like holding pattern, and then they watched us,
Exactly.
and they were like, okay, they're gonna
Holding
they're okay,
pattern,
they're
let
gonna
me
be
get
good.
confirmation from the boss
Exactly.
as to what to do. And they were like, let it go, let it go. I'm wondering if anyone else did something like this, like these kind of that exact conversation were to happen, I'd imagine they would have gotten a strike and they would have gotten banned. But I wonder if YouTube was scared, like, we cannot defend against a lawsuit from Turning Point, from Steve Bannon, and from Tim Pool all at the same time over this.
Sometimes-
And because they're on stage at this massive convention center, the PR damage from taking the show down would be so massive. So I think that's a possibility.
Elon Musk needs to buy YouTube.
Yeah, good luck. But the reason I think it's possible that they've got their thumb on the scale is because you guys who watch the show consistently know this. There was one episode where Luke started talking about the CIA, and then the stream cut off.
Wow.
Yep. Dropped off. Like, Luke made some specific points, and then stream just stops and then kicks back in a few seconds later. And people are like, what did Luke just say? What was he saying? And that's literally what happens now. And it happens a lot. Maybe it's just like a random glitch that happens.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
It could be.
But
That
it
would happen.
happens a lot, you said.
But it doesn't happen during, like, we're talking about a TV show.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't happen we're talking about Quantum Mania or Thanos or anything
Exactly.
like that.
It's always specific topics.
Only when we're like, the intelligence agencies are doing this thing and drop.
But it could happen at other times. We just wouldn't know because no one would say anything because we weren't talking about anything.
Right, and I'd
interesting.
also see that the drop frames would tell me that, like, we're dropping frames in like a huge number. It would tell me that it's not doing that, but it's not.
Behind the scenes at Minds, I would tell you that don't assume malfeasance. If there's
Right.
technical
It could be
glitches,
technical.
it's very easily like AWS is acting up. Your servers
Likely.
are,
I don't.
they're transferring data from one server to
Bro.
another.
I'm done believing it's all just a mistake.
Yeah.
Right? We've been talking about censorship and big tech for 7-8 years now. Or longer actually, maybe even 9 years. Luke was getting demonetized before anyone knew what the word was. Someone was manually going, check this out. We all know what it means to be demonetized on YouTube these days. You got a little $ icon on your video. You go in one day, it's yellow. And it says, ads limited. When Luke from We Are Change was making videos, this is back in like 2011, I'm hanging out with him. And then one day he's like, dude, my ads are turned off again. And in his account, the little green icon, it was a circle back then, is grayed out. He'd have to go back in the video and activate it again. Then he'd come back later
see.
and they'd all be gray again. And he'd go in and turn them on, because there was no formal demonetization process.
Yeah.
Someone at Google or YouTube was manually axing his account and taking ads off of each individual video.
Wow.
So we know that was happening then. Then they created the system to automate it. Now we have this. I went and hung out at the offices of Ustream back in the day. Do you guys remember Ustream?
Yeah, we used to stream on that.
Yeah.
With the letter U. Yeah.
That's where Joe Rogan started streaming, wasn't it? He used to do
I don't know.
Joe
I
Rogan
believe
Experience
so.
on Ustream.
Yeah, I believe so.
And they had guys sitting at a table with a bunch of computers, and on the monitors there would be like 50 live streams all going at once. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, we basically just watch all of it. And if someone looks like they're becoming a problem, we move them over into this panel on the left. And then basically they look for people who are about to break the rules or they think might break the rules, take them from the main grid and put them in the select box. And then if that person takes their shirt off or does something, they nuke it right away. Take the stream right down.
Yeah, I highly
know
doubt it's all
YouTube
a
has that.
coincidence.
Right. YouTube has to have way more sophisticated tools than that.
Yeah, they probably have AI watching language. I wouldn't even be surprised if they have AI reading voice cadence. So if you start to get agitated, it can tell.
Yep.
My
And
gosh.
that's
So the trick is to just deliver horrible messages in a monotone.
In a super cool,
In a
calm way. Don't move your
super
eyebrows. Yeah, very, very
well,
still.
I think they have humans who watch. And for a show
Yeah.
like this, as big as it is, I'm willing to bet that there's like 10 shows and they have like one guy who's watching all at the same time. Or more importantly, I'm willing to bet for a show this big, they have one guy who's hired to watch the show.
At least
job.
one guy, probably.
Yeah.
One person,
Probably a
and
group
they're
of
like,
people.
because
Your show, Rogan's show, and a few others.
Yeah, any big
Yeah.
live streams would probably have
well,
groups of
Joe's not on
admins,
YouTube
if you
anymore.
could afford
Oh,
it.
right, true.
Yeah,
But,
all the big live streams. For
I
sure.
suppose I can only say I agree with you. Don't believe that nothing is going on, but just don't believe anything about it. Don't believe that it's people there twisting knobs. Don't believe that it's the data getting corrupted. Like there's no way to know. So there's no point in coming in with a strong belief on it. But I would like to know.
I would say it seems highly probable that is
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah. Honestly, it does. Just because when I'm watching this, it seems fine all the time, and then I will see comments about not getting it recommended. I have a couple accounts on my phone, and I check and make sure that I'm still getting the notifications. And sometimes I don't get notifications some of those accounts, and sometimes I do get notifications. The show is live on some accounts. So,
But
I mean, the Turning Point USA thing was really weird.
yeah,
Because I get off the stage and then I'm told immediately the show didn't go live for like 10 minutes. It didn't go live.
It was very stressful for the rest of us backstage, being like, "What is happening?" Because we could see it in the monitors, but we, like
Couldn't see
the
it on
first thing
YouTube.
I did was pull up on YouTube, and you think maybe there'll be a 30-second delay, right? Like you think it's a big show. I don't remember how long our lag is, anyways. Whatever, like it doesn't kick in, and we all sort of turn to each other like,
When was this?
This was
how long ago was that?
December?
2 months? No,
December.
Yeah, a couple months.
Was it
At-
oh yeah, right.
at,
December.
End of November.
Amfest. Is
Okay.
that the trend?
Yeah.
December 15.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
December, beginning of December.
Fairly recent.
As a quick aside, the poll says people think the FBI raid on Biden. 55% say it was a cover-up. 45% say deep state removal. But again, we had on more than one occasion, Luke would start talking about the intelligence agencies and things they've done, and then all of a sudden the show would drop for like 20 seconds or something.
We could double blind test on Rumble. I mean, some advice is we could try a different platform and see if it happens again on the other. But the thing is, it happens spottily, and it could be not even Alphabet, the company. It could be like
Well, we
CIA.
can test it
you know,
out
who
now
knows?
and continue talking about the CIA and the FBI and see if it drops off.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely certain topics. It's definitely topic based.
I'm loath to go that direction to
Really?
start assuming for sure that it's because of the topic.
Yeah, I can understand why you would be. I get it, and you honestly have more experience with this than I would. But in my experience, it seems like it's topic based, and what I've seen in the past, I've watched the show for years. It definitely seems like there's,
Can you guys listening, adminning at YouTube right now, super chat us and let us know if there are technologies
I've
you're
got-
using to mute and
Oh,
push
they
things around?
have to have it.
Just let us know.
You know how I guarantee you, I would say there is no less than a 100% chance they have that ability. You know why? Because a crackpot psychopath live streamed himself going into a church in New Zealand.
Right.
That kind of stuff has happened before. It's happened more than once. And I'm sure when that happened, every big tech platform said, we need the ability to instantly shut down any stream. We need robot AI, whatever, tracking noises.
Right.
YouTube has a rule that you cannot do anything with guns live. So if you're on YouTube and you have a gun channel, you can go out to your range and do tutorials and like what's that gun channel? Hickok 45, I think is a good one.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
And so that's all fine. And they're like, yeah, you can do that's totally fine.
'Cause it's recorded.
Not live though.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has to be in the proper setting. So it
Correct.
can only be at a gun shop to display the weapon, or it can be on the range where it's safe. So I'm willing to bet they've got workers and AI. And I bet the workers get alerted when the AI flags something.
Right.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of pressure from all of these different organizations with a lot of money on social media platforms to censor content, to go after discrimination, hate speech, violence, etc. So
What about, remember all those Facebook censors who are not necessarily censors, but I think they would be considered censors. They were watching Facebook material, and so it was uploaded to Facebook to check it wasn't that a whole big story, and that kind of disappeared. They were talking about how it was, detrimental to their health, how they were watching so much negative content all the time, and it was damaging them. Remember that? And
well, Ian did it too.
Yeah,
with Minds.
I did a video about that in 2018. That was right after that idea broke, 2017, when people started coming out. They'll hire people to look at the darkest dregs of humanity. I mean, stuff will go up on YouTube.
Are you talking about the TikTok lawsuit? I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem.
No. I'm talking about
because there was a TikTok
on
censor
Facebook.
lawsuit.
The censors are seeing so much murder and child abuse.
The burnout rate's incredible.
There was TikTok contracts.
I'm sure.
TikTok contracts to a third party, and they filed a class action lawsuit for similar reason. I'm sure your video is
the third party filed one against TikTok.
Yeah, for damages, because they say they just see terrible, awful things, and they have to they'll work. Part of it is they'll work really long shifts, right, and then without a break from anything. They're just taking in all this terrible content.
Yeah, it was 24/7 for me. So I'd go in, I'd look at 300 things, I'd go out, an hour later I'd go back in, look at another 100 things, stuff like that. So it was all day of my life for 5 years. That was my life.
For those that are wondering why Ian is the way he is, he used to be normal. And then he looked at these things and he became more and more twisted.
I did used to be normal. I used to watch bangedup.com. You ever watch those old Faces of Death shows and stuff? Dude. Like in 2001, when the internet was finally on and I could finally watch video, I'd go
on America Online.
It was. I think I had America Online at the time, and that was hard to watch. But I was like, if it happens, I should be able to see it. If it's going to happen in real life, I should see it. But that doesn't mean I need to see every blown open body. Yeah, it gets to the point where you need to protect the mind, and I don't know how we're going to handle administrating these things.
Right. This is a big challenge because there are evil people posting evil stuff on all of these platforms. And Elon, of course, came in, and that was a big thing he was trying to do is get rid of this stuff because Twitter certainly wasn't for whatever reason. Yeah. Let me pull up this story. This is a crazy story. This is from our good friends over at Jezebel. You know Jezebel. You know them. You love them. Twitch's AI porn controversy is a creepy sign of things to come. I completely agree with Jezebel for once. Popular streamer Atrak sobbed through his apology after viewers spotted that he was looking at AI-generated porn of other streamers. This is the weirdest thing ever. So the dude, I guess, what's the story? He had porn pulled up on his...
No, so Pop Culture Crisis, shout out to them, talked about this the other day. He was doing a stream, and he was clicking through the tabs, and I guess, I don't know if he opened it accidentally or just skipped over it, but they could see he was on Pornhub. And I don't know all the details of how they identified that it was what it is.
It wasn't Pornhub, from my knowledge. It was a site that does this. That
makes
you can upload someone's face.
In his apology, he said I was on Pornhub and I got directed to an ad.
Right, exactly.
And then it sent me to whoever. Something that's how I figured it out. But they noticed a tab in his browser that was
It was crying about it.
Yeah, and his wife sat in the background.
His wife was crying too. He was on porn. He was like, I was on Pornhub, a totally normal site, and then an ad popped up.
Most famous line.
Yeah, an ad popped up for this AI deepfake porn. So he clicked on it, and then he went the extra step to pay money to get an account for the thing to watch.
Can I just give some advice to any young streamers out there? You have a work computer and you have a personal computer. It's not hard to understand, but this guy apparently was like, I run my business off this machine. Let's pull up adult content on the browser I use for children. Come on, bro.
Wildlife.
And he's been a streamer for a long time, right?
I think he was.
I don't know anything about him, but
obviously he was live. What am I saying? Think.
Yeah. But I just mean you think he'd know to close his tab.
Yeah, seriously, bro. Come on.
Just don't do that on your work computer.
Or maybe just don't do it at all, in my opinion.
True.
As this story was breaking, what's this girl's name?
Out of a morbid curiosity, he paid for a subscription.
Morbid curiosity.
I'm so curious. Please have my money and show me more.
Yeah, I think he's in damage control at this point.
No, but hold on. How? I mean, it is kind of it is creepy, right?
Super creepy.
It's creepy, but then what do you do, right? If there's some sort of initiative to censor this sort of content that's worse. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, someone tweeted this, and I saw it's got 11,600 quote tweets. This tweet has 36 million views. This guy, Ion Ramaru, says, millionaire internet streamer's reaction to AI porn of herself. You won't find more fragile people than popular internet personalities, especially women. I don't know if I agree. I think you're allowed to be freaked out that someone took a picture of your face and put it on porn and is watching it.
She says people keep sending screenshots of it to her. All these people have seen it and it's got her face on it, and then But,
I mean, it happens to celebrities all the time, doesn't it? They're faces are put
Futurama
on.
did this.
Yeah.
Remember when Fry was dating Lucy Liubot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had
Wow.
Lucy Liu downloaded into a robot so
Yeah.
he could date her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's true.
I already used the example on pop culture, but Japan has this big issue with importing sex dolls, and they've agreed to release some, but they won't release any that look like a public figure or like a child.
Oh man, what the?
Yeah, because they're like, that's disgusting.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
what's a public
Like,
figure?
is this the end of days? Like,
Well, I know. Like,
How do you define what a public figure is?
exactly? Do you have to be in a magazine? Do you have to be in a movie? Also,
Yeah.
how are like all of the people?
So you can
regulating
do it
this
to
in
regular
Japan?
people?
or like 2,000 followers on it. Like, what point?
Yeah.
What's
does
the
it,
cutoff?
Exactly. It's terrifying. And like, there have been a lot of people saying, like, oh, they shouldn't be upset about this. But like,
No,
I
dude.
think people will compare it to like, oh, it's like a sex tape getting leaked. But like, this girl who's crying about it, like, didn't do that. Like, she
Yeah.
didn't opt
I mean,
into this
I
at all.
understand why
she's
she's upset about it,
She's
but-
also not making money off of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's not her point, but I'll point it out.
Wait,
That was
no,
part of
no.
her point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she should get all the money from it.
She
It's
should.
her likeness. Like, you can't take a picture of Ian and put it on like a commercial for your soda pop. You got to pay Ian for that.
Well, you can do it, but you will pay me for it if you do.
No, look at this. Look at this. This tweet from Sweet Anita. She said, "This story was how I found out that I'm on this website. I literally choose to pass up millions by not going into sex work, and some random Cheeto-encrusted porn addict solicits my body without my consent instead. Don't know whether to cry, break stuff, or laugh at this point. I just don't think this should be the price for wanting to entertain people." This just made me realize something. There's a lot of women who try to do OnlyFans. They could effectively have like porn star surrogates. You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like-
Don't have to actually do it themselves.
And there's no physical
But here's
risk then.
here's the
Yeah.
problem. That's the thing I'm saying. Like, there could be women who are like, get a different woman to do the work for you, just put your face on it. But here's the crazy thing: you can't do anything about it. So we're talking about, we're working on music, and we were talking with some industry guys, and they were like, you guys should do a cover of a song. You know, people like covers, and then you do like maybe just like one cover of something as like a song you really like, you want to do. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? I mean, we got to buy the rights. And they're like, no, you just do it.
No,
and
covers
I'm
are
like,
fine.
you don't need to buy the rights to cover a song. Like,
Nope.
no, the money just goes to the person who wrote the song.
Right.
I was like, oh, wow. Now think about what that means for AI deep porn. That means any woman anywhere can't stop someone from making it. The only thing they can do is accept the money. This basically means like you cannot stop someone from forcing a woman to be in AI porn.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens is like, well, they used your face, so here's money.
So how do you deal with this? That's the question.
I don't know. That's crazy.
The girl in the video, and I'm apologies, I don't know her name. but
QT Cinderella.
I mean, like, I feel bad for her that this
She
is
says
happening
she's
to her, but
taking-
how do you deal
she
with this
says
situation?
one of her frustrations is now she's spending her own money to fight it and like in court and stuff. And I guess like you issue a cease and desist. Like, but the other part is
Good luck.
also
it's
it's
on the
already out there.
internet.
Like,
It's
even
on
if
the
you
web.
get this
Yeah.
one video of her taken down, it doesn't end the surface. And also like those screenshots
it's going
are
to continue
forever.
to happen to other people too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dry sand effect too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
just going to
think
be more
it's
and
just the
more
way it
and
is.
more.
It's AI is going to be able to write it on the spot. You'll go, I want to watch person A have sex with animal L, and then they watch a donkey and the woman you love getting it on, and then you like, okay, stop. I want to watch myself having sex with fill in the blank, and that's it. And everyone in the world is fair game. You could even be, I want to look at a blend of person A and B having sex with person Y, and you'll see like these weird.
Dude, people are gonna like put the Hulk's face on a woman. Like, remember we were talking about that weird YouTube thing where they put Hitler's head on a woman's body to do Tai Chi and sing
Yeah.
nursery rhymes to kids? Man, the world is getting it.
this is technology.
It feels like
Thank you, AI.
It feels like chaos is taking over.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything's becoming random nonsense and chaotic.
But
It's
then
entropy,
eventually
man.
it'll become normalized, and then people,
That's why I asked if we'll be around in 14 years, if this country can still. It's like we used to be able to defend Earth because of land borders. They had artillery, they rolled up to the border, we could protect it with troops, they couldn't get any closer in, so they couldn't hit the target. Now we have air power. You can't protect the Earth when everyone has air power. There's no way to defend. The American process of defending Earth is not functional now because you have orbital strikes and stuff.
climate change is supposed to kill us by 2025. So
So wait, these websites allow you to like you upload someone else's picture and then it'll generate it for you?
Yeah.
I know they do those. We did the thing with the music video Genocide. If you haven't heard the song Genocide, check it out because Ian's in it. And we animated news personality faces to sing the song about, it's basically criticizing the media for being liars.
Yeah.
So I know that sounds like, kind of wholesome. It's silly to like make Don Lemon sing or whatever.
Yeah.
But people are actually going totally dark with it. It's crazy.
I wanted to get an account and check it out earlier today, but I stopped myself. for better
Can
or
we,
worse.
like-
Not enough morbid curiosity.
You know
enough.
what I would actually rather do? I would rather just use like the AI technology to put Tom Cruise in just whatever movie. So like I want to see Tom Cruise as Frodo Baggins, and then do a voice AI and a face AI, and then it's literally just Tom Cruise as Frodo Baggins the whole time. Tell me that would not be like the funnest thing ever.
It would be fun to have technology if everyone had good intentions, right? But like you can't introduce that. You have to assume everyone's going to do the worst thing, which is like, AI generated porn. Like, I'm sorry, but that's the reality. I
But
mean,
people
I think,
can already do that with like Adobe programs and everything. Put your face on video and
Yeah,
etc.
true.
So it's
Sure,
it's
I don't
not
like any
specific
technology.
to AI. They're just making it easier with AI to do
Right.
that.
yeah, of course. But I think that's why so many parents are deciding not to put their kids' faces on the internet, right? That's why you saw this pushback against like family vlog channels. I think that like we had a nice honeymoon here with technology and the internet. We thought it was cool. We thought it was a fun time.
Yeah.
But actually, it's extremely dangerous.
It is.
and there's no putting it back in the box. So should you just opt out for as long as
I'm just
possible?
worried about what politicians are going to propose to stop this from happening.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got
it's
an
hard.
idea. We should AI Biden's face on a Trump's body, and then start showing it to people and be like, "Do you agree with what Joe Biden says here?"
Yep, totally.
And it'll be Joe Biden. Will be like, "Come on, man! I'm the greatest president. Everybody agrees."
Yeah, that's a good idea. We could honestly do like a Nancy Pelosi or a Fauci one. You have the voices down. Pat.
I feel like it's inevitable that everyone's going to be deepfaked onto porn of all styles.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of already accepted it. Like, get
Pretty
ready for
much.
the whirlwind. But the problem is when people don't know it's a deepfake when they see it.
Yeah,
And then they post
that's
it.
the problem.
And
Yeah,
then
but
even law enforcement doesn't
when
know
it
it's a
happens
deepfake.
so often, then people are going to just be like, "Oh, it's probably
Normalized.
fake."
And then no one's
But
going to
then
believe
what if
any
it's
video
real?
ever. No one's
Like-
going to believe anything.
What is real? The
What if
perception
you're
of what
faking
happened or what
child
happened?
porn and you go to the cops and they're like, "Nah, everything's fake. It doesn't matter," but it's a real case. Like, what do we do
Well,
then?
they would have the means to sort of investigate it.
But you
and
just
look into
said
it.
that everyone's going to assume it's all fake.
Everyone as in general public, but I
Yeah,
feel like
forensics will dig through it
Yeah.
and be like, "Here's
But
the
if they are
artifacts."
motivated enough to, right? If we assume enough of it is fake, I'm just saying, like, it opens this terrible door where
Yeah.
people are going to be like, the reality is most of the stuff is not real.
But like, what's real? That's the question. Is it the perception of the act, or is it the act itself? Because when you watch porn, a video, you're not actually watching the porn. You're watching a digital representation of it. So you're not watching porn for real. You're watching a fantasy.
Okay, that's a semantic argument.
But
The
we
point
think
is-
it's real because we feel it.
because it happened, because people filmed it. We're asking the question of whether or not it was filmed with real humans or was made by a computer and it never happened to a person.
If it looks identical, like there's no difference.
There is. Was a person in this act or not? And if we're talking about children, was a children harmed and raped, or is it an adult who consented and got paid?
I mean, those are questions you can't answer.
Is
though.
it
That's the
a
problem.
video evidence of a crime or not? That's very simple.
But until I don't think those questions can be answered. If it looks realistic enough, there's no way to know.
Well,
I
this
mean,
is
cops would be able to answer it, like you said.
I hope.
I'm not
Like
entirely
saying, hey,
convinced.
authority's
This
going to
is-
fix it. I don't know.
I'm not entirely convinced because this is something we've been talking about for several years.
Okay.
And it's going to come to a point where what you do is you create you generate a fake video, then you run it through a compressor or you convert it, and now it wipes out the artifacts.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to tell at a
You do
certain
a really
point.
good job.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yep, it's creepy. I was watching some YouTube video. I was like some Blizzard thing or something. I can't remember what it was. No. I can't remember what it was. And it was like, it was kind of really obvious it was CGI, but just the lighting was so good. I was like, weird. It was like they got past the uncanny valley. That's what it felt like. It felt like you knew it was CGI, but it looked so good and real. And it was like a person walking like across a bridge or something. And I was like, damn, this is creepy. That's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah. To go back to the crying girl for just a second, because it's on my mind. The other thing I think she could do legally is go after Pornhub, because if they're accepting advertising money from this site, I'm not a lawyer. I
No,
don't
I don't
know.
think she could. No.
Okay.
But like,
You got to go after the company that did it, not the advertising. Like, she can maybe do a cease and desist if they're showing her picture on
Maybe.
the site or something.
I feel like there is that's what's weirding me out. Like,
And then
I'm
it's
not
going to
even.
start a new wave of lawsuits.
Yeah.
I
right?
know, but like that's the thing about legal fights. Like everyone involved has to have the money to go through it, and even
Right.
then they're not always effective. Like there's really no justice for this.
And you're
like
also buying his story about that's what happened. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
you're
for
also
sure.
just Totally
But
accepting
like,
that's what he did.
I feel like, and I don't know, I'm not going to investigate it, but like him being like, these are advertisements I see. There are enough people who check out Pornhub who could verify. Oh yeah, they run those advertisements, which is like to me creepy.
I got a
Future's
weird.
gross, man.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm at like a crossroads in my mind because I'm like pretty extreme techno-libertarian. Like, I think if the technology can exist, it's going to exist and it will get used. No amount of legalities are going to stop that technology from being real. But then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm thinking about protecting children. And like, how do you can't just let everyone see everything all the time.
Where we're going, like, remember Lenza? That is a big thing. I guess people are still doing it.
The AI pictures, like the cartoon pictures and everything.
You take a bunch of pictures of yourself, and then it generates a perfect AI version of you or whatever. That's the future. We're going to live in the pods, and you're going to be in a digital world. And you know what the funny thing is? Like, for all we know, we're already in it, and we are the beautiful versions of ourselves.
Dude,
Yeah,
I just
right.
pulled up this story from last year on Yahoo. Would you eat lab-grown human salami cultured from celebrity cells? Oh! They're making meat from celebrity cells, or they're about to, and then you can eat your favorite celebrity. Or
Wait,
at
what
least-
is the title of that one?
Would you
Why?
eat lab-grown human salami?
Why would you want to do that?
Yes. What is the motivation?
Because you want to live in the pod and be your best fantasy.
But you think it brings you closer to them
I
if
think
you
so.
like?
All right, let's look at this
Would you
story.
eat human meat grown in a lab?
Would you eat human meat grown in a
That's
lab?
Well, this is like the animal rights movement, really, because they don't want you to eat animal meat. They don't.
The
want
answer
you to
is
eat-
no. I won't eat human. What is wrong with you people?
Did you find the one about lab-grown salami cultured from celebrities?
Lab-grown salami.
I've seen that human meat
Oh, here we go.
article before. It's like an animal rights.
Would you
thing.
eat lab-grown human salami cultured from celebrity cells? No.
Why salami?
James
I wouldn't.
Franco's salami?
They're
Easy to
hoping to get
preserve.
James Franco and Ellen DeGeneres, Jennifer Lawrence, and Kanye West on board to donate tissue samples
Why
that will
them
become
specifically?
salami.
No. I don't think Kanye would be down. Knowing Yana, I don't think he'd be down with that. I
You
think
make a
he'd be-
lot. Could you imagine the amount of money that someone could make?
probably
from,
so much. It's only legal in Idaho, though. Idaho's the only state that allows that.
This is
technically
like some of the
doesn't
most
bar
disgusting
cannibalism.
stuff I've ever seen. Yo, we need to go back.
There was also an
You know the
article
joke? It's
that
like,
I
go back. We've gone too far.
Too far.
There was also an article I read. They said, "Would you eat human meat to save the planet?" It's like
No,
What
I
a
would
wonderful
not.
vague question.
Here's what I'm saying. How about? I think I have this video somewhere. Here we go. Check out this video. This is I saw this history-defined high school fitness program in 1962.
Physical education director at La Sierra High School has developed a program that assures every student of physical
Look at this. This was normal back then for all of the kids.
Somebody film last year now.
exercise on the grip
you can't
swing
even play
puts muscles
dodgeball
on the
in
least
gym
athletic.
class anymore. So
Extension
Is it all boys' school, or they separate by gender for these
They,
gym
I'm
classes?
pretty sure they all did. So I'm kind of saying, here's what I'm saying. Can we like go back to when we, exercised and ate right, but, keep the getting rid of racism part and then just have like the not racism, but still be exercising and eating right and not having human grown
this
meat
is toxic
for food.
masculinity now.
Yeah,
This is just a bunch of teenagers exercising as they should be. But nowadays it's just like the kids sit around doing nothing.
Well, if you make
Doughy.
them exercise and they can't do it, then you make them feel bad, and that's bad because that's bullying.
Oh my God.
Man, it's like social Darwinism or whatever. The strong
Well-
must survive. Let the people who want to be doughy, and the
Also-
people who want to be fit, be fit.
Do you want to cater to like the lowest denominator, or should we all like try to encourage everyone to reach their highest potential? Right?
That's why
We're going to lower the standards.
That's,
Oh, good. I'm
That's
glad.
part of like the assisted suicide conversation. Like, I'm very much just cater to the best of the best and let everyone else fall away. If they can't keep up, then they're not supposed to evolutionarily.
See, with this gym class example, I feel like it's way worse to be like, you couldn't do a push-up, so you just don't have to do them. Like, we know you're not capable. That's a terrible thing to
right,
communicate to a
right,
teenager, right?
right.
Being like, hey, you can't do push-up, but by the end of the semester, maybe you'll be able to do 5, and that's awesome. That's an improvement. Like,
Well, they're going to
that's
call
way
it
better.
push-up shaming or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, 2 points.
I guess if we are going into the technoverse, that your emotions are going to be a key part in your ability to navigate. So angry people could make bad things, and you want to like make sure people are happy and healthy. But the problem is, man, giving someone everything they want when they're little is not what makes people happy. People need adversity. They need
Competition.
Of course, they need to lose, and
Yeah.
they need to learn how to enjoy it.
That's how you
The
develop.
future is going to be humans are going to be short and gangly and gaunt, super thin, wearing jumpsuits, and they're going to live in pods. But in the pods, they're going to be 6 feet tall, super ripped, flying around, with spaceships and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is the
I think
worst
the
bedtime
future
story
is-
ever.
So I think the future is androgyny because we see all of this gender
Yeah.
transitioning happening, and I think that the ideal will eventually be, an androgynous model of a human.
Yeah.
I was
Well-
thinking that we're going to be just gestating in like pods, the
Yeah.
kids, and then adults won't have sex organs. We'll be super tall because we'll be in
Yeah.
low gravity, have really long arms and legs.
Have you guys watched SG-1? This is basically what happens to one of the aliens, like the what are they, the Nordics? What do they call them? I forgot what they call them in the show. But they're like Greys, and they can't reproduce anymore. They can only clone themselves, and they're degrading, so they can't do it much longer, and they eventually just get wiped out because of it.
What were you about to?
Oh, I was just gonna say, in the early 2000s, I remember reading some fashion magazine do a cover on like the top model
Asgard.
industry.
The Asgard. Sorry, guys. The Asgard.
The highest, like most in demand, and it was a man who was known for his androgynous look, and he's very thin, and like Tim saying, like long arms, stuff like that.
Yeah, the
But
fashion industry to this day is doing the same
well,
thing.
and
so.
this was like, I think I read this article in 2010,
Yeah.
right? So at that time, they already were like, this is the ideal for both men and women, because they were saying this, like he's able to walk runway for men's lines, but also for women's lines.
Right.
But he's not shaped like we would think a traditional toxically masculine male ideally
Yeah.
is, and he's not shaped
how do
like a
we
woman.
how do we get to that ideal of androgyny? By flipping shit. So
and making the body unhealthy.
right. So the fashion industry, they're making men wear dresses, and then they're making women, wear more masculine clothing. So that is the first step to reaching that ideal of androgyny.
Yeah,
so
for
I think
sure.
that definitely that's
And they're
gonna
10
happen.
years ahead. Like if
Yeah.
we're just talking about it now, they've already known it for a while.
I was thinking like how all wars are fought for sex. I don't know. Some people have told me that over time. Like all wars are fought over women or something like that.
Call back to Helena Troy.
Maybe
Yeah,
not all of them.
that's like the one thing.
But
I'm pretty sure
a
the
lot of
biggest wars in the world were fought over black peppercorn.
Wasn't it salt?
Well, I guess
Yeah.
All
it's
seasoning.
all that stuff, food for sure. But the aggression over women, over either guys not getting laid, so he gets angry, or a guy wants the woman, so he goes like maybe the sexuality is what has caused us to be so psychotic as a species, is our obsession with finding a mate and taking other people's mates. And
I disagree. It doesn't explain the East India Trading Company, trade company, and the spice
right,
wars.
food is a big part of it too. Just survival. in general.
bro, it was literally pepper, black pepper. They were like, I will kill thousands to make my eggs taste better. It's insane.
Also, the profit off the black pepper, the amount of money they could make selling,
But that's my
What
point.
about female leaders that go to war?
like
how do you-
Boudica.
I mean, Margaret Thatcher, for example.
Not true.
Yeah, not all war is for sex. Obviously, that's ridiculous.
but it's for pepper.
A lot of male aggression
Yeah.
is because of it.
I think in nature, male aggression is often because of female stuff. Like you think about like I don't remember what they are, but the rams that get interlocked because they're trying to beat each other to like seduce women.
How do you define male aggression?
Just displays of aggression, right? So if you're talking about these rams,
Isn't that
they
just
fight each
being
other.
a man? I mean,
I think aggression is a naturally masculine tendency.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But like there are times when it becomes fatal, right? If you're rams who lock together and die because you were trying to seduce or show the girl that like you were the better or stronger of the two, like it can be at times not the best. You need a certain amount of aggression. You don't need to dominate it. But like I think you're right. We link in nature, sex and aggression are often linked, but I don't
wonder
think
if
it's necessarily the only cause of war.
I wonder if it's being bred out of humanity, if people are attempting to lower the aggression and the sexuality to an androgynous state. It's crossed my mind like 10 years ago, and I wonder if it's a technocratic state of mind thing. Like we need these people not testosterone filled because they're too much fist fights, too much lying.
so that's physical aggression, but then on the female side, there's emotional aggression, right? Because I mean, they're influenced by estrogen and everything. So
Yeah, and aggression for women
their
looks
emotion.
different.
Yeah, I feel like it's worse.
I would too,
I
but
think it's
well,
I think
they
it's
have
more
that thing
toxic.
where they say like men, like women, like men. If there's a problem, like eventually can just hit each other, right?
Yeah.
But with women, like
and then they'll
grudges
get
never
over
die.
it. Yeah, yeah.
But the hitting each other never solves it. I don't think so.
But they assert dominance, and that's sort of the natural order of like the difference between men and women.
I mean,
like,
it does solve it though, right? The beef is over.
It solves it in the physical sense. Like the guy's not going to
So
get
you
up
think that
now,
the
so-
dudes are like emotionally upset with each other after they win a fight or something?
Probably. I mean, if you're not working it out emotionally or consciously, like I don't think it's getting worked out.
What
necessarily.
kind of fight do you mean?
Like a guy and two guys want a woman. They get into a fist fight. The guy breaks the other guy's legs, breaks his neck, and now he's like, he didn't.
Okay, dude. Like he's basically killed
Well,
this
we're a
guy.
tribal now, so we have no choice because otherwise he'll come back later. Yeah, and
It's kind of crazy if you think about it. I was in Norway, and this Norwegian guy, and it's funny because they're all kind of woke. He was like, "You want to hear a joke?" And I was like, "And he's like, how come Britain has no beautiful women?" And I was like, why?
I'm
'Cause we
offended by
took
this
them all.
one.
And then I was like, oh, yeah, that's right, because the Vikings went and raided and took all the women. And I'm
Right.
like, I don't know if that's a joke or like.
It's not.
But the crazy thing is, like, imagine like you're a woman in a village in like the British Isles or whatever, in Great Britain or something, or Wales or Scotland, and then all of a sudden a bunch of burly dudes on a boat just walk up, destroy your village, and take you and bring you back to their village, and it's like, this is your life now.
Yeah, true.
Like, that's just it. Like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, God, I the horrible. I talk about this horrible stuff, but it's only because I want people to think about what it could be. You can't just call the cops. Like, if we really screw this up, this American thing.
Watch I'm watching 1883 because you guys were telling me to watch it.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody dying all the time.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous.
It's just like they're walking, and then all of a sudden, like there's a scene where they're talking about this, and a girl goes to take a leak or something, and a snake bites her ass, and then she's dead. Like her corpse is laying on the ground. I'm like, well, snake bit her ass.
Look, I think that what was that video game that was popular? Oregon Trail.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it prepared us for what the West was really like. That's why I liked watching 1883.
It's not
Yeah, but the
realistic.
West
There's
wasn't
no
like that.
way they did like this. Where the marshal walks into the room and he's like, "Who did it?" Bang, 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 just kills everybody.
I can't say the depictions of law enforcement and how that works, but like the risk to the travelers, like while
Yeah,
they're
for sure.
going, like the snakes and the
It
wagon
was
and
real.
the whatever else, like that is real.
Right,
It
but-
seems kind of crazy today because there are very like rudimentary things we've learned like in grade school that can really make a difference that they didn't know. And if you think about it, like to put it simply, there were people at a time who didn't know what a wheel was. And we all know what a wheel is because we've just seen it. We've never had a workshop class on how to make a wheel. We'd probably struggle to figure out how to make a perfect wheel out of wood or something, but eventually we'd figure out something, how to make something roll. But there was a period where people didn't have wheels. Nobody figured it out. Nobody knew. Nobody saw it. Now it's like if we really needed to, you could probably make a wheel with something. You could just do it because you know the concept of it. So when it comes to like the Oregon Trail, there's a bunch of stuff you may have just seen passively watching the Discovery Channel, and you're like, oh yeah, like how to get water at night. It's like you dig a little hole and you put like a leaf in it or something, and you get like a cup or whatever. Condensation forms and it drips into the cup. There's just like stuff that you learn from watching movies that these people never had access to.
Yeah.
Think about this.
Well, germ theory, right? Sorry to cut you off.
Oh right, yeah, like washing wounds. They used to be like, why wash your hands?
Yeah, or like you have to boil your water before you drink it.
Right.
Like they didn't know that because they didn't have the
But
concept.
in 1883, they're boiling the water because of cholera.
But they have to tell them to.
Right. But so think about this. When you watch a movie, you get a bunch of BS information, and people think the wrong things from watching it. The people think that like silencers make guns go pew pew pew. They really don't, and they really don't know what these things sound like. But there is so much information we absorb every single day that we take for granted. If you go back to 1883, you probably absorbed no information for days. Like literally, the information you absorb is like an animal was there. Okay, well that's not like longevity information.
Right.
I'm talking like today. I'll read an article and it'll be like a new fusion reactor. It combines these things with these things, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just learned something, I guess. And I don't know how I'm going to practically apply like a fusion reactor or something. But you go back to the 1800s and you're walking the whole day and you learn nothing new. The only thing new you learn is like there's a tree at this point on the map.
I
Write it down.
think, we've also seen this transition from, TV culture to internet culture, right? We have all of the world's knowledge at our fingertips 24/7. 30 years ago, we wouldn't be able to Google like some stupid, piece of information that we were looking for, but now we can. It's crazy.
That was actually, there was a comic, I think it was XKCD, I'm not sure, where it's like 1990 and someone said, hey, what year was Lincoln shot? And the other person's like, I don't know. You want to go to the library and find out? Nah. And then it's like now, hey, what year was Lincoln shot? Then he's looking at his phone. And he's like 1864. I don't know. Was it 1864? What year was it that he was shot? 68.
1865 was like when the
65?
war ended, right?
Yeah, right,
It had to
65,
be after
right.
the war, right?
It was like a month after the war ended. I
Yeah,
think.
65. I think.
65,
That makes
probably.
sense, right?
Can't go anywhere without your history.
What
buff.
year was it?
April 14th, 1865.
65. You were right.
Yeah,
I was close.
Yeah, to this point, when I had that Twitter space with the Taliban I was telling you about before, I co-hosted it with Nuance Bro, and we were discussing the detainment of Andrew Tate, and I got MAGA people together with these Taliban guys living in Afghanistan. They actually had a very fruitful conversation about, where the world was headed. Can you imagine if we could do this back in 2001? Maybe the war
That's
would not have
crazy.
happened.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering, why do we have this global conflict? Like, where's Putin on a video chat with Joe Biden?
Cue YouTube taking us off the air.
We're going to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and become a member over at timcast.com to watch our uncensored members-only show, which will be up around 11 p.m. tonight. We do those Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. And as a member, you're supporting our cultural endeavors and our show, so we really do appreciate it. Smash that like button, all that good stuff. All right. I prefer Rumble. Do you? Says, Tim and Ian, please check out 2034, a novel of the next World War by Admiral James Stavridis. It's sobering and clearly shows it explains World War III will touch American soil. Technology is a double-edged blade. Ooh.
Yeah, drone bombers, man.
Defiant Blackout says, Yo, Tim, when you started off with that raid comment, YouTube glitched, and I replayed it. That whole part is gone about the Orange Man. Let me just make sure I can reiterate this, and I'm going to give advanced warning for our censors, so you can, okay, I'm about to say it again, all right. When Donald Trump has the FBI go to his house to look for documents, it's a raid. When they go to Joe Biden's office, it's a planned search. Mm-hmm. It's funny how the media does that, right? All right, did the censors, did you get it? Oh no, that one went through? Oh, well, you tried. All right. Brycey says, Tim, your stream cut out for a few seconds in the beginning when you were talking about the Biden raid. Did it now? Richard Winter says, I'm pretty sure YouTube just censored you saying Donald Trump in your opening. Did they now? Look at all these people saying this, huh?
Just a coincidence.
Don't question it.
Rusta says, just some feedback on an earlier vid from today. The For You algorithm existed before Elon bought the site, but Elon just made it easier to switch from For You and actually following on the app. Anyway, love you all. Yes, there were little stars in the top right, and you had the home feed and the latest feed. And every so often, it would automatically switch you back to home, which was algorithmic. Yeah, I think it's awful. All right, Darius Arkin says, shortly after having a discussion with my district manager where I was told that my conservative politics are unacceptable, my transfer request was denied and I was terminated from my position. Yikes. Damn. Well, if that was Washington, D.C., you'd have a case for a human rights violation where politics is a protected class. Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Doesn't apply anywhere else, though, for the most part. All right, let's see. Matthew Reckamp says, the problem with your poll is that it doesn't have a third option for both. That was the poll on the question of, are they trying to remove Biden or cover up the raid, or cover up Biden's malfeasance? Yep. David Toronto says, Trump was president. He can declassify documents. Joe couldn't. Either way, I'll take President DeSantis. Well, there you go. That's one simple answer, I guess. What do you guys think? Is it going to be DeSantis?
I prefer Trump.
Yeah. You like Trump?
I prefer Trump.
It's tough, man.
I think DeSantis is pretty much like the same GOP establishment type of guy that's using wokeism to basically capture the MAGA base.
Right.
I think
so. Like he's doing what they want to try and earn their favor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what he should be doing.
Yeah, but I just don't think DeSantis
Trump brought in
is the
Bolton.
same as Trump. Yeah, I understand that, and that's one criticism I have of Trump. But then he ended up firing Bolton. You know.
He brought in a bunch of people. He had a bunch of people surrounding him. As Luke likes to point out, he tried to get Bill Gates to be an advisor.
Right.
So it's tough. Like Trump was not perfect. I don't know, man.
Yeah, he wasn't, and that's actually why I trust him more. He's not a politician. He's not a traditional politician. Whereas DeSantis, you know, he's born and bred politician.
Yeah,
really
too polished, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Christina H says, Caitlin Bennett said she'd love to come on the show. I hope you guys get in contact soon. I will figure that one out. Let me write that down. Let me write down Caitlin Bennett. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I haven't seen her in a while.
Has she been on before?
I think they were saying she took a break because she's a mom.
Oh.
She took time to
I went to Kent State. That's where
Was it?
Caitlin went. Kent State. Same
Yeah,
college as
she
I
used
went
to interview people, and she'd have like the gun, and then they
Gun
were like,
girl.
"Oh,
She's got really curly hair too, right?
No.
Yeah.
And 345 says they are going to have Hakeem Jeffries run. Really though, it's kind of soon.
What?
But that would boost his profile. Like Nikki Haley is going to run, and she doesn't actually expect to win. Running for president makes you it boosts your profile. You sell books. You get
Beto
famous.
O'Rourke, yeah.
And that's the only reason they do it. They do it so that they can get a book contract and make a bunch of money.
Right. Say they ran.
All right. Really, Rick says, hey, Sameera, it's gays for Trump. When can we expect the next Taliban Twitter space?
Very soon, hopefully. Pick a topic, and then, you know, maybe you can join. You guys should join.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
So how many people from the Taliban come on normally?
I mean, that was a very specific Twitter space, but then, you know, they'll show up in our spaces sometimes, you know,
Nuance Pro said
They'll
they like
surprise-
asked.
Yeah,
they
they'll
were asking
surprise
for
us.
dating advice or something. And
Yeah,
they were
oh my
like, we
gosh.
don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
No, they have good advice, and we've asked them about pop culture references and everything. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to get these groups together. It would be good conversation.
All right. Wyatt Kaldenberg says, Tim, I have been involved in politics since the 60s. One thing I learned, never trust people who spread gossip and create drama within the movement. They always turn out to be paid rats, crackpot, or people with dark secrets.
True.
Well, the one thing I will say is we talked about reputation management firms a while back. These are companies that their whole thing is how to create personas, how to manufacture identities, and how to do the inverse, how to destroy and character assassinate. And so the one thing I'll warn you about is like with Julian Assange, this is where the future of assassination is. Back in the day, let's just leave all the conspiracy theories aside. Several prominent people were killed in big news stories. What happens when a prominent individual has their life taken? Well, their work stops, but their ideas become immortal. They become martyrs.
Yeah.
What we see now is Julian Assange gets accused of some impropriety or nonsense that turns out to be totally fake. They use that as pretext to shut down his work, or at least impede it to the best of their abilities, and try and destroy his legacy so that his ideas die forever. The man gets to live locked in the Ecuadorian embassy for 10 years, but they made sure that all across the internet people were spamming comments about how Julian Assange was doing this, that, or otherwise to women. The media narratives came out and started doing all the same thing, and it was all a lie. And then what it turns out, they dropped the case against Julian Assange, and then Donald Trump moved to have him indicted and extradited to the United States on espionage charges when he's not even an American citizen.
Right.
You got to watch out for this intel stuff, man.
Yeah.
They try. It's weird stuff. It's weird, creepy stuff. But you can usually tell when it's inorganic, like the story about Julian Assange, if you actually looked into, you knew, like, oh, okay, this is not real. But for some reason, the New York Times or whoever else, all these big news outlets, were writing overtly fake things. The same thing I can say for Donald Trump. Like, all of these people spamming on Twitter, screaming about how Trump said Nazis were very fine people, and it's like, yo, he never did that. Yeah. So who are these people doing this? Well, you know what I think it is? I think it's a mix of prominent, high-profile accounts that get the intelligence agencies or the contractors will reach out to them and say, hey, this is the go, here's your rate, like here's your pay, do this story. Or they will spam prominent personalities on the left and say like, hey, look, like all of a sudden 50 comments will appear on someone's page being like, Donald Trump said this, Donald Trump said this.
Troll farms.
And then these prominent personalities will start talking about it and regurgitating these ideas and then saying Donald Trump's a Nazi, and then it creates that moment. The reputation management firms, you should really look into it. That's what Wikipedia is run by, basically. Right. A handful of different agencies and individuals who do what's called reputation management. And then what's really dirty is when campaigns target an individual for some reason that you can't really understand, and then the person goes to them and says, hey, we can fix this for you. Maybe you just pay us and we'll make it all go away. We'll handle your Wikipedia page and get those articles removed. Crazy stuff, right? Yeah. All right, let's see what we got. Cabarro says the D's can run a decrepit, senile, alleged pedo and make him get 81 million ballots. It doesn't matter who the establishment decides to run. That's what I'm saying. Like, look, people are going to get a universal mail-in ballot, and then someone's going to knock on their door and say, vote for Biden. They're going to, oh, whatever, I guess. And they're not going to know anything about him. Yeah. Joe Biden could walk on Fifth Avenue. And the point of that statement is it's what Trump said. Trump said he could go out on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a single vote. He was right. I mean, it's not a good thing, obviously, but he's not wrong in the zealotry of a lot of these voters.
It's not exclusive to Trump. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got? Grofty says the UFO might spin at some point, Buck. Well, here you go.
The UFO might spin.
There it is. A little air duster to spin it.
Spinning the UFO is.
That's it. All right.
That's dangerous.
Wobbling the UFO might.
Yeah, you have to make sure it's perfectly flat.
Level, yeah.
Otherwise, the air is pushing it down.
I think hypothetically, if something spins horizontally fast enough, it creates anti-gravity. It diminishes its vertical momentum to zero.
How does that make sense?
I'll bring on Jeremy Riss, the alien scientist, to explain it at some point in the future.
So the challenge with this UFO is that it's not symmetrical in every direction. So when the blower is on it, it's pushing it slightly downward. And so it's going down, but then bouncing up, so it starts wobbling. So what you have to do is you have to get it perfectly flat and aligned. I've got this thing to go really, really fast where the whole thing starts shaking like crazy because it can't handle the energy. But I kind of feel like there's got to be a way to make it spin perfectly. You know, like what's the maximum RPM for this UFO?
Oh my gosh!
Because there's
in a vacuum, I don't know if there would be a maximum. I mean,
Right,
it eventually would break apart.
Right, it would throw itself apart. I watched this really funny video, a skateboard wheel, and they put like a power tool on it so that it would spin, and it spins so fast. This is urethane; it's hard. It's like it melts basically. It just like wobbles out like Laffy Taffy.
You guys ever watch the Hydraulic Press YouTube channel where he just smashes different things? I love that channel. Therapeutic.
All right, what do we got here? Bryant Laws says, question, what if this is the setup for Civil War II? Think about it. Lincoln wasn't a perfect choice for POTUS, so would Newsom be in the same boat? I don't know. Is Joe Biden our Buchanan?
Maybe. Lincoln came out as a fourth party. There were 4 parties running for president that year, and he was kind of a nobody, wasn't a politician, and it was just a radical time in history. So it is possible that we're about to embark on, like we were just talking earlier, we need, at least I was saying, I think more political parties.
The difference is now we have bot farms, troll farms run by these parties and intelligence agencies. I think that.
Yep. They've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
I actually talked to, I'll just say a political party guy, and this was probably 7 or 8 years ago, who was talking about basically this. You know, they're not so overt where they don't come out and say we want to make trolls to target individuals or anything like that. They're just like, we want to maximize
they want to
user
construct
outreach.
narratives.
And what was the Share Blue? Was that the company that hired people to go on Reddit and post comments or something?
I don't know. I can't remember
If you ever wonder why it is that you're online and you're seeing it's just a massive, you're getting inundated with a bunch of comments that like come out of nowhere, you got to watch out for these companies like Share Blue or whatever. Is that what it's called?
This is from Daily Beast. The Hillary Clinton PAC spent $1 million to, quote, correct commenters on Reddit and Facebook. Is that
exactly.
Shared Blue?
Yep. That's right. The internet is fake. Dead internet theory. Companies, Reddit is the most, so Reddit was the, what made videos go viral.
Yeah.
People would find a video, find it funny, put it on Reddit, and then it would go viral because the engine works that way. If you liked it, you give it an upvote. If you didn't, it went down. So if the video had that X factor, more people are upvoting it than downvoting it, it starts skyrocketing. Then people figured out how to game the algorithm. It wasn't just getting upvotes, it was downvoting everything else. So they started automating it. They started using troll farms.
Wow.
You see those videos where people have like 100 cell phones on the wall and they're walking over and they're posting messages? That's how they do it. Yep. And so they would load up Reddit and they would go downvote, 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 downvote everything in competition with it on each of their accounts from different phones. And then all of a sudden, not only is this video getting 100 upvotes, everything else got downvotes, and boom, your video made the front page.
Right.
Crazy, right?
And this was like news like 10 years ago. People were talking about this. When, when it
and
first,
technology has advanced so much. Can you imagine what's going on
Seriously.
now?
Seriously.
Ritual Studio says Universe 25 is becoming a reality. What's that?
I don't know.
No idea. No idea.
Paul Lamb says, I'm 24 looking at all this woke crap, and all I can think about is preparing to move to the middle of the woods and building a home for my future family. I'm telling you, man, if you got out of the city and you got chickens and got a little house, you're probably sitting pretty in your rocking chair on the porch, looking at your glorious chicken wealth.
Just purchased a solar power battery. Or I purchased a 1,000 watt generator and a
solar generator,
and then
move
2
out of
big
the
solar
country.
panels, 200-watt solar.
Well,
panels.
we have a whole bunch of these big batteries with solar panels.
Yeah, I got one of those.
You lay out the panels, and it was really cool. When we first bought them, this was a couple years ago. We laid out like 12 panels, and we watched the thing charge up. And the battery was like charged to full in 3 hours, and that's actually pretty crazy. That's a lot of electricity being generated. And so we actually, we had a lot of panels. It was a huge space being covered, but you could run an air conditioner off that. Wow. These little batteries up on the ground. We actually did. One day the power went out here, and it was super hot in the studio, and the air conditioner ran, I think, for like 45 minutes off of one fully charged battery. So, that's pretty good.
Get one. It was $1,000.
If the apocalypse happens, I'm not going to be wasting I'm not going to waste my electricity on air conditioning. Unless I absolutely have to for some reason.
Also, your phone is a battery. Keep that in mind. Like my solar panels, they have USB-C ports on them, so you can just plug your phone right into the panel. And it is a battery that you can use. You said move out of the country, but where would you move to?
I don't know. I'm thinking about it. If
Really?
it gets really bad, then I might consider it.
What's on your short list?
I really liked Russia when I went there.
El Salvador.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
Yeah. Crime's dropping. The standard of living is increasing. It's sounding pretty good.
Max Kaiser and Stacey Herbert are like superstars there right now.
That's right. So if I had to choose any other country, I'd just choose that. I'd hit up Max and Stacey and be like, what's going on? Bitcoin, yo.
I'm your new neighbor.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
What about you?
I don't know. I have a Serge and I think both have a couple different citizenships, and so I grew up with this idea that like if one of the countries was really bad, I could jump to the next one.
But are they both woke?
Well, I'm British Canadian and American,
Okay.
so it's not looking good on all fronts. I'm not totally sure where I'll go after this, but I that idea that like you could leave or like that this country wasn't forever is like definitely something I grew up with, you know, because that's why my parents left the countries they were in.
Yeah.
All right, Radioactive Rat says, Tim, for the reverse Shark Tank, I work for a tiny animal shelter in Northern California, one of the poorest counties in the state. As a rep of the shelter, could I request specific donations we desperately need? Right now, I don't know what to say. The idea I had was people are ragging on Mr. Beast. They were calling it demonic,
Yeah,
what he
literally.
did. And I'm like,
It's insane.
we can do MILF Manor or we can do Mr. Beast Cures Blindness. I'll take Mr. Beast any day of the week.
Yeah.
So I said on the segment we should do a reverse Shark Tank, reverse what's
Altruistic Shark Tank.
Is that what it's called? The Shark Tank? What's the show?
Yeah,
Shark
there's,
Tank.
there's
Shark
Dragon's
Tank,
Den
yeah.
and Shark Tank. Dragon's Den's the British version of it.
Reverse Shark Tank, where it's a bunch of philanthropists and people go in to express why they need charitable donations. I think we'd want to refrain from people who are like, my dad's dying of kidney failure because that's like really horrible to make someone come and beg to save someone's life. But we want to keep it as a possibility. I think it's more so like it's foundations and billionaires and nonprofits come in and talk about the work they're doing. So it's basically like, I run a charity that saves animals. Last year, we saved 3,000 dogs by providing them emergency kidney dialysis, and they went on to live for 5 years with your contribution of X amount of dollars. And then the whales, because they're not sharks, because whales are nice, will determine how much they want to give, and if they do. And it'll be very similar. It'll be like, what are your expenses every year? How much of the money that I donate goes to the actual cause of helping these animals versus paying your administrative costs? And then they'll say it's 20%, which is, really, 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 really great. 80% of the money goes towards. And I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, because that would be that show would function as the money source for people like Mr. Beast that don't have money. Someone will come in and be like, I have a plan to cure 1,000 people's blindness with this technology. This is the surgeries, and then the charity can fund the process.
And you can do it thematically, like one episode is all animal related, right? And then you can contrast like how different services are helping this cause.
It's basically just the same show, but with nonprofits. I mean, Shark Tank could even do that and have an episode where it's charities that come in and say, we run a charity that does these things. We are looking for $500,000 to open a new building that will provide, children with meals and a warm bed, blah, blah, blah.
It's impact investment. It is the dawn of the impact investment age. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
And then I was saying, we should have a marketing movement where companies use their marketing budgets to compete for doing the best thing. So I will pledge this. Depending on how much revenue we generate this year, we will not be buying Times Square billboards. Instead, we will use our marketing budget to, make a video where we cure blindness. Just rip off Mr. Beast, because if everyone started doing that, we'd have no blind people, or with cataracts at least. But we can do something like that. We could use our marketing budget to do something really cool.
Impactful, yeah.
Yeah.
Helping injured athletes, PRP, platelet-rich plasma, things like that.
All kinds of things.
I mean, that's expensive. There's probably people more in need we could help and problems we could solve.
Well, and there are probably people you've had on the show who would partner with you to do stuff, right?
Better idea. We buy 500,000 lottery tickets.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and give them out. And somebody's bound to win the lottery,
And then use that money towards whatever.
No, they can do whatever they want. It's like we just give out lottery tickets. That's our philanthropy. We're a nonprofit that gives homeless people lottery tickets. Ooh, fingers crossed. No, but I think we'll do that. I think instead of buying billboards, we will produce a video akin to a Mr. Beast charitable giving. Because someone said, "Put your money where your mouth is, Tim. If Mr. Beast is doing it, and you're saying people should, you should." And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Let's figure it out. We'll figure out what to do.
Yeah, the thing about the blindness thing as well, Ian, is that it's really cheap, and the surgery takes like 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It's not really that expensive, and it obviously it's expensive, a couple grand, but some people don't have a couple grand, and it takes like 10 minutes. So that's why they chose that to be like the thing they would do for a lot of people,
Man, let's kick it into overdrive. If it's that easy to do, and people just need a little kickstart.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Cobe Johnson says, Tim, longtime fan since the old studio days, you should get Peter Zahan on one evening, get great insight into geopolitics and the end of globalization. Ian could have a field day talking about graphene.
Yeah.
Look him up. Maybe we should read him out.
He was on Rogan a couple weeks ago,
was.
3 weeks ago.
Cool.
On Rogan. That's so
He was
funny.
riding on
right
his
on top
shoulders
of
and
him.
they were running down the street.
Just making a move.
Amenthi says, Bill in Last of Us was gay in the game, but it wasn't a focus. And his relationship with Frank was strained. Bill also doesn't die in the game. I like Offerman in the role, but I hate these changes. Yeah, I think in the game what happened, like Frank got bit and then Bill had to kill him or something.
No idea.
Something like that. All right. Merle Gray says, the reason why all the scenes y'all described with the dad and the notebook get the emotion of love, how to use, because it involves a sacrifice, just like when Jesus Christ died on the cross. I mean, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, I don't, seeing like two grown adult men, I don't feel anything over that loss because I view them both as self-sufficient, capable men. And it's like...
It also seems cheesy and corny.
Forced.
Yeah, forced.
Well, and I think there's nothing noble in this.
Yes,
death,
there's nothing
right?
noble,
There's
yeah.
nothing that we're like,
For sure.
man, if I were in that circumstance, like I hope that I have the character to like he's letting someone who's apparently dying die, and then he's also killing himself, so he doesn't have to deal with the post-apocalyptic
Right, and the
world.
political motive behind it,
Yeah.
it's just overtly woke.
Yeah,
And there's-
That turned people off, probably.
Yeah.
There's no actual love building in it. Like there's nothing I see that actually shows a relationship of love. Maybe it's because they're both men, or maybe it's because they just didn't write it well enough.
That's the problem with a lot of modern art is they tell you that they're in love and then you're supposed to have feelings, but they don't actually play it out over the course of the process.
Like I'll put it this way: episode 2, Tess sacrifices herself to save them, and there's this really disgusting scene where the zombie the fungus is coming out of its mouth, and then he kisses her, and it's going down her throat or whatever. But like, I think her name's Anna Torv, the actress. Her emotion and her acting in the "I'm gonna sacrifice myself for you," and she's knocking over like fuel cans or whatever. It's like you can feel it, and then it's really sad when it blows up, and then Joel is like, the one thing he had in this destroyed world is now dead. But like this episode with these two guys, there's like literally nothing there. It shows them arguing with each other.
Were they both healthy? Like nothing.
Not
wrong
in the
with them?
end. In the end, one guy was sick and dying, and he's like
okay.
in a wheelchair or something.
Okay.
how was Bella Ramsey in that show?
She's cool. Yeah,
She's
I think,
good?
I think the show's really good. Look, I think that episode was really, really good. I just I don't connect with that emotionally. I just can't understand it. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just like, if it was a woman and a man, there would be a dynamic there I would relate to or understand. And maybe that's just me. But I will say this: that movie Bros, where it's like a gay
Oh, yeah.
rom-com,
Yeah.
flopped.
Billy Eichner movie.
If you're going to do a gay romance thing, The Last of Us episode 3 is how you would do it. Like the prepper guy isn't actually gay. He's been alone for 3 years. Humanity's been wiped out. And then when this guy shows up, I guess, who is gay, he's like, I've only ever been with a girl or whatever. And so it's like, it's a weird dynamic, I guess. It's interesting. But it's like the Bros movie was just weird, lewd,
Yeah.
kind of over the top, gross.
I think people are just seeing it too much. It's overexposed, right? Because I think there was that Disney movie with the gay character or something that was supposed to be, like a big hit, but then it completely flopped everywhere and then didn't do well at the box office. So I think people are just fed up of the, overt political messages in culture and in Hollywood. And stuff.
I think the issue is it's just relatable to a very, very, very small portion of the population.
Yes.
If it was his brother in this, and it's like, one day he sees his trap is sprung, and he looks out and he sees his brother's there, and he's like, "Oh my God, John, where have you been?" And then it's like he's smiling and he's like, I've been alone for 3 years and you made it back. I thought you died. And then in the end, his brother's dying. Like, I would relate to that and be like, oh man, that's so sad,
It sounds like a gay fantasy. If they wrote it like gay guy meets straight guy, but straight guy falls in love with gay guy. Now he's gay too. Like
Now he's gay too.
That's what I think too.
Yeah. Anyway, let's read some more. All right. Curtis says, when Putin said something to the effect of, America is full of Satanists, I couldn't disagree knowing that porn is one of America's top exports.
Well, a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
Yikes. All right. We'll grab some more super chats. Rod Undefined Rod says, Tim, the gun channels have been destroyed by YouTube this past week. They even struck Ian McCollum for a suppressor video, misspelled deliberate. We are planning on having some people on talk about this. So Yeah, we'll see. I don't want to say too much because we're in the process of booking everything. I don't know when it's going to happen, but they're tweeting about it.
I just went to YouTube. Tim Pool calls out Hassan Abi. What is this?
Calls out. I never
don't
called
know.
him
I
out.
just saw
Wait,
it.
what?
That was
Hold
the-
on.
that- Tim Pool calls out Hassan Abi. It's Hassan. It's on Hassan's channel.
What? I didn't. I agreed
I don't
with
know.
him.
Hassan, come on, man.
Wait,
Come
wait,
on
wait.
the show,
Hold
dude.
on. Hassan wrote that?
Yeah, I think it's on his show.
Calls out. I literally agree with him like 4 or 5 times. I say he's right.
Yeah, but if
the
you say
master.
agree with, you're not going to have as many clicks. Come on, Tim.
Yeah, true.
It says as I call him out.
Tim Pool calls out Hassan Abi. Yeah.
Shout out, maybe.
Yep.
I was like Hassan complaining about how some YouTube guy's got to make this video. He's right.
Yeah,
But
he said
that's
he was right.
Controversy gets
That's
clicks.
a good
It's
point.
way-
That if Hassan was like if the title was Tim Pool's pretty cool, it wouldn't get, it'd get like
Maybe
half
a pass,
the.
yeah.
It might get more views.
I
but-
disagree. I
Maybe
think
if
at
it was
this
him.
point, if Hassan wrote Tim
Yeah.
Pool actually agrees with Hassan
People would love
over
it.
Mr. Beast, people would click it to be like, "Yo, what's
And
this
the word
about?
agree is really big.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was the craziest thing when Hassan's like, this fills me with rage that it's up to some YouTube guy to give these people this 10-minute procedure, and I'm like, he's right.
Yeah.
Why is our society where we need entertainment in the form of helping people with this 10-minute procedure? Why can't we figure out a way to solve the problems that are happening in this country?
Totally. Yeah.
So I don't know if I agree with him on the solution to these problems, but he's right to call out it as a look. I will take Mr. Beast over MILF Manor any day, but I think we can do better. And as long as we're giving $100 billion to Ukraine, someone pointed out, let's just give $2.5 million to every homeless veteran.
Oh yeah, someone
I'm
said.
like, sure. How about we
Mr.
give
Beast,
them 500,000?
Mr. Beast solved 100,000 or 1,000 people's blindness. He could have bought an M1 Abram for the Ukrainians. What was he thinking? But it was a joke, obviously.
That's a good one.
Yeah, aid to Ukraine isn't going to stop anytime soon.
No, that's for sure.
I gotta look at that video.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it
Calls
later.
him out.
I'll send it to
I
you.
think I said I probably disagree with him politically on how we solve it, but he's completely right about that being an issue. And people are ragging on him. It's like he's not mad at Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
He's mad at the system, and I agree.
He's gotten under your skin. That's the market. That's the magic of his marketing and titling here.
Yeah.
I'm pissed that we gave $100 billion to Ukraine before fixing our bridges, our roads, our pipes, our
Right.
schools. You got kids drinking lead and all this other garbage. And then these leftists come out and they're like, can we fix these pipes? And everyone's like, yes. Yeah, yes, actually, we agree with fixing the infrastructure in this country. Instead, for some reason, our politicians just go blow up kids overseas.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but now the leftists are saying we can do both. We can fix the
Yeah.
lead pipes and we can aid Ukraine because,
Just print more money.
I don't know. Maybe that's why he's saying I didn't criticize him, but maybe he's criticizing me because I said we shouldn't be funding the war in Ukraine and we should be funding the.
I'm telling you, this title has really gotten you. He's won.
Yeah, I saw this meme
Well,
today.
good for
saying,
him, I guess.
Remember,
I know.
remember when Donald Trump said they were saying he was going to cause World War III, and now they're like, yeah, let's start World War III.
Yeah. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member over at timcast.com so you can check out our uncensored members-only show that's coming up in about 1 hour. We record it right after we wrap here, and then we upload it, and it's not so family-friendly. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL everywhere. You can follow at Timcast News on Twitter. Do it. You can follow me personally everywhere at Timcast. Sameera, do you want to shout anything out?
yes, follow me on Twitter at Sameera Khan, SameeraKhan, and tune in for the after show.
Right on.
I'm Hannah Claire. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. You should go to Timcast.com and click on the read tab to see articles from me and the rest of our team. You can follow me personally on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can follow me on Twitter at HCBrimlow. And you should definitely follow at Timcast News on Twitter. It's excellent. Go there immediately.
I'm Ian Crossan. Follow me on the internet anywhere you can find Ian Crossan. I'm probably that guy. And God, prayers to the people of Dnipro, up and down the river, and Kherson. It's the best for all those people. Everyone there, healthy, calm. Let's make it happen.
And you can find me anywhere at Serge.com. I took a poll to see if you guys would like to see my music in the future. We'll see how that poll goes, and I'll abide by that. But it was a good show. Thanks, guys. See you in the after.
We will see all of you over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.
Cheers.